This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guests are Victor and Kooch Daniels, the author of Matrix Meditations. They are educators in the field of human development, spiritual growth. They have an excellent book, Matrix Meditations, which I suggest that you, if you're looking for a really carefully done, carefully researched, authoritative book on that very broad subject, this would be one of the books that you would certainly enjoy. Victor and Kooch, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
No, thank you. I'm very happy to have you here. Now, the book is so thorough, and there's so much to cover. I think I'd like to ask you, what is the basic thrust of the book?
What we have done in these pages is put together the best single synthesis of Eastern thought and Western psychology in print today.
We've combined them.
Its subtitle is a 16-week program for developing the mind-heart connection. Actually, it could be 16 weeks, 16 months, 16 years, depending on the person. But it provides it's a systematic introduction to meditation for someone who has never meditated. It provides advanced techniques for someone who is advanced in meditation. It is a wonderful compendium of reflections for people who are interested in the greater success, self-help in whatever kind of means.
So it's mental health, physical health, emotional, spiritual health. We have meditations that can help people tune inward, work through some kind of a meditation. It could be contemplative or a visualization, or what are our different meditations we have?
Well, there are four categories of meditation, basically, that we address here. One of them is popular these days, mindfulness meditation. There is also referred to as witness consciousness in the Hindu and Vedic traditions. There is contemplative meditation, which in the West was the only kind that was known for a long time until the East kind of mixed with it. There is concentrative meditation, and it's almost impossible to do aware mindfulness if you can't concentrate, if you can't focus your mind, if you don't notice where your mind is. And there is everyday awareness practices. And so we have in every one of the cells, the book is structured like the I Ching in terms of there are 65 cells kind of comparable to the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. And every one of them has a brief narrative section on the particular topic of that cell, and then it has a specific practice, something that a person can actually do.
And each cell is something that relates to a universal quality of consciousness. So every cell has something for everyone, because we all go into those different mindsets at different times, and we go in either through our emotions and our feeling. That's why the book's subtitle is called, part of the subtitle is Mind-Heart Connection, because we're trying to help people understand how the mind and the heart are connected and how they really need to be harmonized to be able to heal the whole self and connect on a deeper level to meaningful healing. It's not just talking about it, but it's experiencing it on a very deep soul level.
Right. And Dr. Daniels, what is your educational background?
Well, I did my bachelor's degree at San Francisco State with some time at Berkeley and my master's and doctorate at UCLA, and then I trained in Gestalt therapy for quite some time after that. And I was director of the India Studies program at Sonoma State University, where I taught for 41 years. And while director of the India Studies program, we were kind of a featured stop on the local Swami circuit. So we
Right.
had many people coming through, both Buddhist, Hindu, etc. And then we had a number of specific teachers that we spent considerable time with over the years.
And the reason you were on the Swami circuit is because you were a friendly spot for them.
Right.
No.
We had an India studies program. And I taught courses in Asian psychology and the psychology of India and so on. And there weren't very many such spots, so we were an obvious one.
You could go to Sonoma State University. At the time it was called Granola State, but you could get Sakti pot. And there weren't many places where you could go, well, if we go to that conference or we go over to the school, maybe we'll see some guru or somebody and we can get enlightened.
Well, actually, people looking for information, it seems very fair. People looking for information, it seems fair. It always seems fair, and you take what you need, don't you?
In the 70s, it was an oasis for getting what you needed.
Right.
It could be even very, very out of the ordinary or ordinary, but these days it's much more in the academic mainstream. It's changed. The school has changed over the years.
And the reason that we now being older, no longer being teenagers, the way people see the Indian gurus, we see them differently now. We see them now as teachers. When we were younger, we saw them a little differently. You know, you bump into Swami Satchidananda, and it's different. It's just different, and maybe because we're more have more exposure now, we see them as teachers, and we don't see them as little gods. We see them as teachers, and that's probably a better thing, isn't it? I mean, we being older now, we just have a different perspective on the teachings, don't we? On speaking broadly.
What was the name of that movie that we recently saw? At any rate, it was we had rented it, and it was about an Indian who lived in New Jersey who wanted to show people that they could be their own teachers, Kumara or something of the sort. And so he went to Arizona where he was not known, and he dressed up as a Swami and got a group of followers and got them and gave them some very useful information, and then unveiled himself at the end as actually being an Indian from New Jersey and not a Swami at all, and telling the people that, well, you have within you what you need. And we've tried to do something parallel here with this book without pretending to be Swamis. We've created a way in these pages where a person can really create, in a sense, a spiritual renaissance for themselves, which is either in terms of their own internal development or an equal number of tools for success in the outer world.
Well, there's really the nice thing about this book I mentioned to you in the green room is it seems very carefully written and researched, and it's really a textbook. I say that in a very nice way. It's just carefully, intelligently done. So, and since there's so much in the textbook, why don't you mentioned passing the I Ching? Would you like to comment on your teaching of the I Ching, your understanding of the I Ching, and how we can use it?
Well, the I Ching is one of the oldest books in the world. Came out of it provides the opportunity for throwing coins and having those coins. It's very heavily in nature.
Or yarrow sticks.
Or yarrow stalks or whatever. And then it sends you to a given cell, and you read that cell, and that cell has some kind or a given hexagram, and that hexagram has some kind of an answer or says something or other that may cause you to perceive a situation in a different way. We have this set up the same way. You can it's a simpler procedure, but you can throw 3 coins, or you can even pull a card from a deck of cards, and that will send you to a given cell.
Whatever number the card is.
And read what it is. There's a table that gives you your card equivalents, or you can even do it with an imaginary deck of cards because everyone knows what they are.
You could just take the book and go, let's see, what message from the universe am I going to get today?
Do you want to ask a question and pull an imaginary card out of your mind right now?
No, thank you. Nothing on the air really.
Okay.
But I will say just one kind of personal story. There was a point when I was kind of in flux, a period of transition, as they say, and I was using the I Ching a lot. My wife is very skillful at throwing it, and my wife would do it. You know, we'd ask a question, and I guess I once asked the question of the I Ching, and the I Ching actually said to me and my wife, why are you bothering me so much? And I thought to myself, the thing about me is I see myself as kind of a hard-headed fellow. And the I Ching, whenever I would ask a question, the answers were so specific that I thought, okay, this is impressive. I don't really understand this, but whatever. I don't know how the telephone works either, but I can use the telephone. And the I Ching was so remarkable every time I asked it that when the I Ching finally said to me, okay, you're kind of bothering me, I didn't use it for like 8 or 9 years after that. I don't need it now. But I thought, this is just remarkable. I thought, okay, this is amazing. Here I am. My wife is throwing the coins, and I thought, okay, it was just, and we saved them too, and it was just remarkable. I just really felt it very valuable for me on a personal level.
Well, I don't know whether this would be equally specific. It might well,
Right.
or it might not. But one thing that it adds to what the I Ching offers is that you throw the coin or choose the card or just look for divine inspiration and open it and go to a cell. And you can read the narrative part of the cell, which tells you about the phenomenon and gives you the kind of answer that you're, some kind of an answer to your question. And then you can look at the practice section of it, which is a page or so at the end, which tells you something that you can actually do. And that might be something that you would do in a given sitting, or it might be something that you would say, okay, I'm going to do this every day for the rest of this week. So it gives you something to take into your life and actively do, as well as looking for it. So we're looking throughout. One of the things Kooch talked at the beginning about connecting the mind and the heart. And we also have the physical, the body connections. We have things that people can do physically that connect with the mind and the heart, body awareness, tensions, etc. So it gives you something that you can actually take into the world and work with your question.
Is this book the result of your 40 years of teaching? Is this really a textbook for university students? Was that you thought, this is the audience, I'm going to write a textbook for university students that my colleagues won't find embarrassing?
No.
No, not at all.
We were trying to help humanity.
Okay.
We wanted to create something that anyone and everyone, hopefully, I mean, that's a broad statement, but we wanted there to be something for everyone. And it didn't matter if you had a college education or not, but that you would be able to open the book and find something that could possibly, hopefully, make your life a little easier, or pave out some little niche on your path to an easier life, a more harmonious life, a more successful life.
Yeah, when I was reading through it in preparation for the interview, I simply didn't realize how good it was going to be until I started reading it, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is working out for me. I had these intelligent people on my show, and I got to read this great book, and I thought, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed the book. It just reminded me of, intelligent professor laying it out for you and pointing out all this intelligent ideas that help you have a better life. It seemed very pragmatic, and also I just really, and it was so nicely written too. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm just enjoying this. It was just seemed really, really an important book.
We spent a lot of time on the writing. Our goal was to write something that a PhD or MD would find to be useful and enlightening, and that somebody who was wiping the counter at McDonald's would be able to look at, read easily, and say, hey, that's good for me. Can I read you just the first paragraph?
Certainly, please, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the beginning. It starts with a quotation from Albert Einstein. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. And then we go on. Long ago in Athens, and on sun-splashed islands set like jewels in the blue Aegean, the ancient Greek philosophers asked some of the same questions people ask today. Questions like, how can I enjoy a full, rich life and find happiness and peace of mind? Most of the philosophers agreed that gaining wisdom, or Sophia, was part of the answer. And then it goes on to point out that Pythagoras said, well, that's a little pretentious. How about philosophia, which is the pursuit of wisdom? And so we've tried to use that same kind of really crystal clear, lucid writing throughout, from the first page to the last. Many drafts, much editing and work.
Yes, well, it shows.
It's very eclectic because we pull from all the different religions, quotes from the great masters, and people who have been successful at healing, and we've put that into the book. So if you're Muslim or Jewish or Christian, Hindu, we have we have something from your teachers and something that people can learn how other people see the world, because in a spiritual path, all paths lead to one. And if we're truly here to evolve our conscious awareness, we need to be open to looking at how different people's paths can help us see our own path more clearly and become more harmonious inwardly.
I agree with that. By the way, at this juncture, how can we contact you, Kooch, and Victor, to get a copy of your book or to hear you lecture? And are you teaching right now?
Right now, we present at professional conferences and things of that sort. We're not, and
we're
Kooch
pretty good
does,
at that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing more of that. Victor's retired, and since he's retired, we are actually teaming up more and doing more teaching together. But I work in the Bay Area as an intuitive and work professionally doing readings for people. So I've brought in the more intuitive, right brain awareness, because that's been my life and how I connect with people every day. So I bring in more the intuitive, and Victor is more scientific and logical, and we come together and we kind of combine the two.
Sure.
And I'm working primarily as a freelance writer at the present time. We have with several other, we have another book project going, and I'm doing several. But to contact us, your question, matrixmeditations.com is the easiest way to get a look at the book, and a person can. There are a variety of sample excerpts, and Amazon.com. Look inside the book has a variety of excerpts. You can get it. You can get it either in electronic form or in hard copy. Personally, I think this is a book that it's wonderful for people to get in hard copy.
It's a really good resource.
And the beautiful illustrations in it. They've done a wonderful thing with them, and a kind of double imagery in the hard copy that doesn't appear on the electronic copy. But aside from that, the e-version is identical, and it's easy to search, easy to find things. We have
but you can find our book at any of your favorite, whatever your favorite bookstore is. You can have them order it, or you can go through all the internet bookstores.
Let me tell you an interesting little story about it at this point. This book came out 3 years ago, and we did the publicity and promotion thing on it for a period of time. Sold some copies, and then got into other things. A couple of years ago, a woman came up to us at the Sonoma County Book Fair and said, I've started a little business in which I have about 20 coffee houses in which I put books on the shelf and sell them when people come into coffee houses and cafes, when they come in to eat or read. Do you have any books that would be appropriate for that? And so we had this, and we had a couple of others that we're not discussing today, and gave them to her. And now, like every couple of months, she calls us and says, Matrix Meditations is one of my top sellers, continues to be. People just come in. We just got another shipment of a couple of boxes of books for her, because people just walk in, they pick it up, they look at it, and they say, hey, I love this, and they go away with it.
If someone wants to start out with the idea of, I'll use the word self-help, they're interested in these ideas, where can I start out? What should I do?
I would say pick it up and start out with page 1. Because you get to, there's one of the early chapters, like 3 or 4 or something like that, or maybe it's the second chapter, tells you 8 different ways you can use this book. And you can look at them and you can say, okay, which of these ways fits me now? Maybe what works out best. Well, in the beginning, one of the interesting things, if you were of a somewhat inquisitive state frame of mind, the first few chapters before you get to the cells they provide a very clear exposition of what meditation is about, how it works, what it is, something that you will not find in most meditation books. And you end up knowing, okay, here are the different forms of meditation, here is what makes them work, etc., etc. On the other hand, maybe you've never meditated before and you have a feeling, I've got just so much stuff rattling around in my mind all the time, I'd like to find a way to get a handle on it. Okay, we have at the beginning a list of meditations. We have a program. Well, we have several tables of contents at the beginning. One of the tables of contents is for people just to go through systematically who have never meditated before. One of them is advanced meditations for people who want to go into places that they haven't been, and others is yet another wonderful way to do it is to go to the matrix of consciousness, which is really the key to the book. It's like the table of the 64 hexagrams in the I Ching, and say, okay, which of these items on the table is of importance to me right now? Communication, wow, I'm not getting along so well with. Or tolerance, I'm having a hard time tolerating. Or forgiveness, I'm really pissed off at so and I'd like to forgive him, but
Those all sound like important topics that most of us probably, would like to know more about, I guess, or do better with, or have greater understanding of. And excuse me, so your PhD is in what subject again?
Psychology.
Yeah. Do you have a specific field in psychology?
Well, my major area at UCLA was experimental social psychology, with minor areas in personality theory, motivation, and the history of psychology. One of these days I'm going to do a book on a practical history of psychology.
And if I can ask a question, so as a young man, when the various Indian teachers were coming here in the United States, did you think, this is great? Did you go to a lot of those lectures as a young grad student or undergraduate student?
He still is.
Was attractive to you? You still do?
He did, and he still is.
Yeah. No, I was interested in. I lived in San Francisco during the beatnik era.
Right.
And
well, excuse me. May I ask you? I don't usually do this, but may I ask how old you are?
I'm 71.
Oh my goodness, I'm a good guesser of age. I thought you were much younger. Okay, you're 71. Okay, so then you really there at the actually completely very first wave of it all.
Yeah. I was in the beatnik scene in North Beach, where the de rigueur furnishings in an apartment were one wine-stained mattress and an orange crate and a bottle of wine with a candle in it, and then you go downstairs and there is a poetry reading and a drummer just playing in the background, and everyone is wearing black. From there came down here, same scene happening over in Venice Beach at that time, and then that morphed into the hippie era. And way back at San Francisco State, I was into Zen way back at the beginning, and so that was one of the currents of my interest ever since I was a young man.
Did you actually ever hear Alan Watts speak in person?
I never heard Alan Watts speak, but I went to his houseboat.
Yes.
We like one of our professors, a Jungian, took a group of a Jungian psychology class to Alan's houseboat in Marin County, and we had a fantastic. Alan was away, and he'd said, "Sure, Gordon, you could do this." We had a fantastic party.
What year was
there.
this? 63, 64?
No, this would have been 60. This would have been around 1969, 70, 71. Somewhere. You wanted to speak.
Oh, I was just going to say the outcome of all of Victor's wanderings is the matrix meditation combined with my wanderings. But another way that you could use the book, I'm bringing it back to the book, our talk to the book, which is another way to use it is if you're just in the moment and you trust synchronicity and you want to see what the universe has to say to you. So you just open the book and find a page and read what it says. And I thought, well, this is interesting because I picked up the page on success, and there's 9 soul-satisfying steps to success that we have, and I'm just going to read a few of them. You can ask yourself what you truly want to achieve, and do what you do with attention and care, and take the initiative to live your life wholly. So we have very strange pasts with lots of incredible stories that could go on and on, but the result is this incredible book, and I just really thank you that you found it and that you really see into it. And
oh no, and then also I read it and I thought, oh my goodness, this is just, it was actually fun. That caught me a little bit by surprise. I thought, oh, I'm just enjoying this. It was just, besides reading things that I didn't know or I forgot, I was happy to see because it was just helpful. But I thought, oh, it's just a pleasure to read this book, which is, I wasn't actually looking for that, but I did notice it right away. I thought, oh, it's just a pleasure looking at this book. And
see, we're just getting all excited. That's why I have to ask you, because when you say something like that, it's like, yay, we're so excited. Thank you so much.
As an author, you write books and maybe you really write them for yourself, don't you? You think, I'm writing this book so that I enjoy it, and then other people think, oh yeah, we enjoy that. We've got benefit from this book as well.
Well, we didn't kill each other when we were writing it together, so that
Well,
says
that's good.
a lot.
Two creative people working together. You have a different perspective, obviously. So.
We know people who keep this on their bedside table, and who every morning or when they get up or every evening before they go to bed, they open it up to one of the cells.
And they
read
said,
it.
"Oh, thank God we have that book, because when I'm having a really bad night, I just go into your book and I open up a page and I can read from it, and usually I can get a better attitude about what I'm involved in."
Let me ask you a broad question then. So now it's 2013, and in the 60s and 70s, 80s, would you say that your subject enjoys much more mainstream interest than it did 20, 30 years ago? That people are actually happy to read it, and there's less anger directed towards you for some of the broad concepts you put out there? Has your response been good to this? Has the public's response been good?
Well, people who talk to us usually are very complimentary. So I would say that people give us really good feedback. Some people say it's too intellectual, and I go, oh dear, oh no, because it does have an intellectual side to it. But Victor wanted to take it out on truck stops and leave it at truck stops for the truckers so that they could have a better night's sleep. So, different people have different views on it. But I think just the overall perception of meditation is people are much more open-minded, just like this whole wave of yoga, like East meeting West.
Right.
It's in my lifetime, it's totally transformed.
Yes.
One of our tentative subtitles for it, which the publishers throughout had something to do about for truck drivers and housewives.
Well, that'd be you could maybe put the same book out with that title. It'd probably sell equally well, because I'm sure truck drivers and housewives just enjoy it just as much. They enjoy it just as much. I really was impressed. Is there anything? So we just briefly touched on the I Ching. Now, you also mentioned you take things from the Buddhist and the Christian and various philosophies. But aren't there people who would say to you, well, no, that you can't do that because, only Christianity has any merit and the other ones simply have no merit.
Yes,
so you
of course.
run across that.
Mm-hmm. We do run across that, because there are some people that are very close that my religion is the only religion. That's where this book really comes in handy, because it can help people open their mind to other wise, saintly people, their profound influence in how we can open our mind to having more of a understanding of what or who God really is within ourselves. Because meditation is an inward path, a path to healing the heart, but it's also a path to self-awareness, God awareness within, and self-realization ultimately.
But if somebody wants to be limited to a Christian perspective, for instance, they can look up Jesus in the index, and they will find passages about and by him, some of which provide a whole different, a deeper understanding and perspective under what's common than what's commonly known. And the same thing with the Buddhist tradition, same thing with Vedic traditions, etc. So we respect the fact that there are some people who are inclined differently. Some people are devoted to a particular path, and we're not going to tell you that you need to open your mind to other paths. You can mind all of the paths. Ultimately, they had a figure or figures who had great consciousness, and they had others who had lesser consciousness. I sincerely believe that if you took all of the figures with the great consciousness, Buddha, Jesus, Lao Tzu, etc., put them together in a little mountain glen, and they had a conversation, that they would say, we're basically saying the same thing.
They would just sit there silently and meditate.
Yeah. But they said it in different ways to people of different places and times so that those people could understand them.
Sure. Well, Victor and Kooch Daniels, a great book, Matrix Meditations. Once again, how can we get a copy of your book?
You can go to any online bookseller. You can and just type in the title of the book and on our name, or you can go to your local bookstore or call your bookstore and ask them to order it, and you'll come in and pick it up.
You could go to our publishers, Inner Traditions.
Yeah, and buy it directly from them.
In there in Vermont.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. And you can go to the website, and the website has links to all of these various different things. The website is matrixmeditations.com, http://www.matrixmeditations.com.
Well, Victor and Kooch Daniels, thank you very much for being guests today on Here's to Your Health. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
great.
much.
Fun. You've been listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Hey everyone, this is Richard Carr, Business Relations Manager for LA Talk Live. Did you know social media produces almost double the marketing leads of trade shows, telemarketing, direct mail, or even pay-per-click ads? And that about 46% of all online users count on social media when making that ever-important purchase decision. Hey, if you feel lost when it comes to social media, Top Tier Media can help you. Top Tier Media specializes in social media management and blogger outreach for beauty, fashion, health, and lifestyle brands. To learn more, go to www.toptiermedia.com. That's www.toptiermedia.com. Top Tier Media, the official social media marketing company of LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on LaTalkLive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Y'all ready for this? Yeah!
Hi, I'm Jerry Bell of the Daz Band in New Birth.
And I'm Brahima Arsalan,
inviting you to join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time for Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics, baby.
Join us as we play some of the greatest hits of soul and R&B and listen in to interesting discussions with the legends of the music.
So don't you forget, join us on the Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics. You'll love it. Exclusively on LaTalkLive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio.
Or watch us and listen directly at LaTalkLive.com, baby.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure.
This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk, baby. We are music.
Hi, this is Barbara Perkins, inviting you to join us every Sunday afternoon at 2:40 for Sisters at the Well Radio, a conversation with women about women. Join us as we share stories about current events, jazz events, business opportunities, health and wellness, entertainment, and so much more. So don't forget to tune in Sundays at 2:40, exclusively on LaTalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, or watch and listen directly at LaTalkLive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. My guest is a playwright, a screenwriter whose text is used at NYU and the New School in New York. Catherine Ann Jones has had great success as a playwright. Wrote her first book. I always wanted to say Sylvia Plath, but actually it was Virginia Woolf. You wrote a book of Virginia Woolf, a play about Virginia Woolf, because as a younger woman you were an actor and you felt that women's parts were too thin and decided to write your own part. Welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Joshua. Yeah.
And since you've accomplished so much, and by the way, you also wrote a screenplay that was made into a television movie. Jason Robards was in it.
And Julie Harris,
who
we
fantastic.
Just lost lately.
Yes, that's right. And then you also wrote The
Christmas Wife.
Christmas Wife. Yeah. And then you also wrote a screen treatment or a play, and Dolly Parton's decided that she liked that and used it.
Disney Studios produced the film. It's called Unlikely Angel, and Dolly was wonderful. She's great fun to work with, and no dumb blonde, I can tell you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Smart lady.
So you've had a lot of success in media, and not only have you been successful as a writer, you are seen as an educator, because if your text is used at the New School and at NYU, I mean, those are important schools.
I've also taught graduate school for 20 years, too.
At USC?
First at the New School University in New York City, then USC Film School. I taught graduate screenwriting. And most people know my work from Touched by an Angel. I wrote for that TV series.
You were one of the regular contributors?
I was. And I have a very tiny niche in Hollywood because I only write social, responsible films, no gratuitous violence. So you can imagine what a tiny niche.
That does seem like a small niche in Hollywood, doesn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No gratuitous nudity. Is that you won't do?
Well, there might be sex and violence on a small scale.
I'm just teasing you.
But
actually.
Not gratuitous. Right. Not overdone and overly graphic.
And may I ask, where did you go to undergraduate school?
University of Texas, Austin, drama, and then I taught there later, and then I did my graduate work at Pacifica Graduate Institute. Depth psychology and archetypal mythology. It's in Santa Barbara. Yeah.
And so you worked on Broadway and off Broadway as an actor.
Yes.
And then you were just terribly unhappy that there were no intelligent parts for men and women, or you just
women, because this was in the 70s, and I felt the new plays I was doing. I did a lot of classical work too. I played Juliet and Lady Macbeth and. Huh? There were great roles, of course, the old plays, but the new plays seemed to be rather one-dimensional for women. And they also often weren't that well written. So I just sat down, and my first play, On the Edge, about Virginia Woolf, won the National Endowment for the Arts that year. So that kind of launched a new career, and I followed that. Then Hollywood invited me. Studio option, one of my plays. It won awards.
What play was that?
The Women of Cedar Creek, and MGM optioned it and then went bankrupt a week after, so the film was never made. That was a good initiation to Hollywood, right. I think. And then, but luckily I got a lot of work when I worked here.
And you also won a Fulbright?
I did. I wanted to go where I was having success. I had 10 plays produced in and out of New York. But I wanted to go somewhere where story was more than entertainment, something deeper. So I applied and really never thought I would win one. But I got a year's grant in South India, and I studied shamanism. Expressed in the arts, 5,000-year-old forms. It was an amazing year. So the shamanic study I did, as well as my graduate degree in depth psychology and years of writing, fed into this new book, Heal Yourself with Writing.
And so
Yeah.
the idea in the book is that writing is important, and that people use writing. If they work within that craft, they can just be happier.
Not quite. My earlier book, The Way of Story, The Craft and Soul of Writing, is about learning writing, learning to integrate the right and left brain and bring all of yourself to the table. But the new book, Heal Yourself with Writings for Non-Writers as well, it's not about learning how to write. It's just what I call focused journaling exercises, 5 and 10-minute exercises. It's a modality for self-healing.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I give an example?
Please. Yeah.
I first started doing this Heal Yourself with Writing as a workshop at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California. And I was just amazed by the response. There was one example, a woman in her mid-30s who had been abused sexually when she was 15. And when you experience a trauma, it can create a split within the psyche where you're cut off from your mind and body. You're like not there. And after the workshop, she wrote me a letter. She had done years of traditional therapy, talking therapy. Nothing had helped. And after the workshop, just by doing the exercises, she said, for the first time in 15 years, I feel I've returned to myself.
Right.
So she had come together. And interesting enough, shamans in the old days, and shamans go back 30,000 years or more, their job was to heal the split for either physical illness or spiritual illness. They feel that somehow one's soul had become disconnected, and their job was to return the person to his soul. So there's definitely a parallel there. I should also be clear that I don't heal anyone, but people self-heal, and the work I do in workshops and through the book is self-healing. It's to self-heal grief and trauma, and also to create a deeper dialogue with your deeper self.
And you were in India studying shamanism under Fulbright. What year?
85.
And did it just... Now, obviously, you go there with certain preconception what the year is going to be like as an academic.
I've made 41 trips to India.
41 trips to India.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
I first went in the late 60s, and in those days, you either got involved with civil rights or you turned toward the east for answers. And I dabbled in civil rights, and then I went to India to find the truth. That's sort of how you look at it then. And I went for 2 weeks and stayed 2 years, my first trip. So India is really my spiritual home. My first book the book cover is from India.
What was the first book titled?
The Way of Story, The Craft and Soul of Writing. My publisher gave me 5 photographs. He said I could choose any one of the 5, and the only one from India was this. I don't know if you can get a shot of that, but it's a man.
I'm not sure. Possibly
there.
over here?
No, this is the book.
The Way of Story, I see.
Or the poster behind
Poster behind
you.
us, all righty.
Anyway, it's a man following the light on the river and pulling flowers as an offering. So it seemed metaphorically right for the book of that. So it's been quite a journey. So it's one interesting thing. I did a talk last night. Someone asked me, usually the word yourself is one word. And when I finished the Heal Yourself with Writing, was just about to mail it to my publisher or send it off, I looked at it and I separated your and self. So self is capital SELF. And then I knew I was finished with the book, because capital self stands for Atma, or the spiritual or deeper self. It's rather like a painter when he does that last stroke and he knows the painting is finished. So that's when I knew the book was done. We got a very nice review from Psychology Today. And one quote I remember, it said, "Heal yourself with writing is an elixir for the soul." And what's really surprised me, because I'm critical of conventional psychology and therapy, is that I have several psychiatrists and doctors who have given testimonials that are published in the book and finding how much they like the approach. Narrative psychology is a whole new field now. And in the New York Times last week, there was an article saying the people who went to therapists for talk therapy today are going to writing workshops.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's been a shift. One of the I'll mention two inspirations for what made me write this book. One is there's a Native American parable I found. It's about a grandfather talking to his little grandson. And the grandfather says, I have two wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is angry and jealous and vengeful. And the other wolf is gentle and kind and compassionate. And these two wolves are fighting in my heart. So the little boy asked his grandfather, Grandfather, which wolf will win the fight in your heart? And the old man answers, one I feed.
Ah.
So how do you feed the stories that heal? The other influence was Dr. Viktor Frankl, who was a very famous New York psychiatrist. And when he died a few years ago, he got a full-page obituary in the New York Times. He was a Holocaust survivor. He was at Auschwitz. And his entire family was killed. And he was witness to this. He was the only survivor of his family. And while he was in the camp, he had an epiphany that became a foundation for his wonderful work later. And that was this. He realized while he was in the concentration camp, he had no power about external events, no power in that. But his epiphany was, he said, he had one power that no one could take away, and that was how he perceived what was happening. So that was an inspiration because it's very close to Hindu philosophy of how perception creates the world to various degrees. So Heal Yourself with Writing is about shifting perception. I'll give an example of one exercise. It's in the chapter on trauma, healing trauma. Usually when a trauma person who's had a trauma, severe trauma, talks about it or writes about it, they do it inevitably from a victim point of view. So first I ask them to write in a few sentences in broad strokes what the trauma was. And they do that. Then I have them write it from various perspectives, like to write it from perspective of a hero or heroine and what was learned from this incident in their life. And then we do 3 or 4 others. And the last one we do is I have them write it from the point of view of the perpetrator. So if, say, a woman or a man was raped, he would write it from the point of view of the person who raped him. And this is a powerful exercise. It creates a shift. In other words, you stand back from what happened to you. You don't just identify with the trauma, because it's the identification that creates a negative pattern that can repeat a traumatic situation again and again. So there's a gap between the person and what happened, and in that gap is where the healing happens. I don't know if that's...
Well, that seems important. And how did you come to recognize the value of the writing?
Well, as a professional writer for like 3 decades now, I know that for me, writing has been the greatest therapy I know. Like once I used to joke when I would give talks receiving writing awards or something that I'd say, for those of you who want to be writers and you don't come from a dysfunctional family, I'm sorry for you.
Right.
Because there's no better background for an artist of any kind.
Right.
So I think when I wrote my inevitable dysfunctional family play, growing up in Texas and so on, I thought this was a play.
What play was that?
The Women of Cedar Creek, the one
Oh,
in
yes.
GM, the one that brought me to Hollywood.
Yes.
I figured I had to write this. I had written about Calamity Jane and Virginia Woolf and various people, but you have to write that inevitable dysfunctional family play. You know, Eugene O'Neill's last play was his dysfunctional family play, Long Day's Journey. Anyway, but I figured I'd write it, then I'd put in a drawer just to exorcise the ghost. And I was more surprised than anyone that play won more awards than any other.
Because that insight, you felt in retrospect it was well crafted?
Not only that, I felt by being specific with my own story, it became universal. Mm-hmm. People would see the play and come up to me and say, and this was a play about three generations of a Texas family, a very personal play. And people would come up and say, "That's my mother. I grew up in Kansas. How would you know?" Or, "I grew up in Canada, and that's my sister exactly. How could you know her?" Mm-hmm. And so I discovered that it's in the specific is where the universal is, and not the other way around. For instance, if you try and write about something for everyone, it's not going to touch people. But if you be very specific and draw from your own life, not only, it may not even have to be the facts of your own life. It can be what I call emotionally autobiographical. So you tap into something that touches you and you let the feeling, because if you write from that place in you with the feeling and the emotion, the passion, that's contagious. It comes off the screen or the page. And that's why in both of my books, it's also a partial memoir. I use stories from my own life to illustrate certain principles. I can give you one example,
please,
if I may.
Please, yeah.
In Heal Yourself with Writing, I talk about cultivating the inner voice, or your inner intuitive self, mm-hmm. and how I learned that I trust the intuitive voice much more than my logical left brain. And I relate this true story. I was in New York in my 20s, a young actor, and I was visiting a girlfriend who had just come from an acting job in Europe. As soon as I walked into her apartment on Central Park South, I had a very uncomfortable feeling, like I shouldn't be here. I overrode it with my mind. I said I must be polite, so on. She seated me in a big chair by the window overlooking Central Park. As soon as I sat in that chair, I knew I'm in danger. It didn't make any sense. But 5 minutes later, I couldn't stand anymore, so I got up and I said, "Patricia, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well. I have to leave." And I left. 20 minutes later, I walked into my own apartment. The phone was ringing. I picked it up, and it was my friend. She said, "Catherine, you'll never guess what happened." I said, "What?" "You know that chair you were sitting in?" I said, "Yes." "Well, in New York, in old buildings, they have huge air conditioning units. They're like, 6 feet by, they're mm-hmm. enormous.
Sure.
One had fallen off the building, crashed into that window onto that chair. I would have been killed, most likely. So I tell people to listen to that inner voice, whether it makes any sense or not. It might even save your life. And then I give an exercise. Think of a moment in your life when your inner voice bid you do something, and what happened. Did you listen or did you not? And what was the result? And like that's one of the. Another exercise I do that people tell me is very powerful is think of a lie you were told once that you discovered later.
Think of a lie you were told once. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you discovered that you had been lied to, how did it feel at the time? And then what power does that lie have over you now? So they're very short.
That seems like an important one, doesn't it? Oh my goodness.
So it's also incident. I've been told this book is very good for anyone writing a memoir, because it asks specific questions about the past and like the missing piece of your childhood and things like that. And
So you've enjoyed great success with your work. Obviously, teaching at the New School, an important place, NYU, an important place. Where did you bump into?
An interesting place.
Interesting.
Too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where did you bump into Norman Mailer that he commented on your work?
He attended one of my earlier plays was called The Myth of Annie Beckman. It was my angry feminist play, I guess you'd say. And
Well, yes, he managed to make a fool of himself in that era, didn't he? Because he a great writer and wrote some important books. But in the late '60s, early '70s, as a young man, watching him, and he was a media person, and he was at some feminist conference in New York City, and I watched him, and I thought, for some reason, I guess they showed it on film because he made a fool of himself, and I watched him, and I thought, no, Norman, you're out of your element here, because he suddenly seemed terribly dated to me at that very moment. That can happen to public figures.
He was inspired. His image of what it was to be a writer was more Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah.
Macho.
Kind of a 1930s left-wing kind of a thing.
Very macho.
Right.
But he was a very sweet man. I didn't know him well. But he came up to me after the production, and he said, I love this play. At the end of Act 1, the hair at the back of my neck stood up.
Huh?
An experience I rarely have in the theater today, and I felt in the presence of a genuine American tragedy.
Oh, that's a very nice thing for Norman Mailer to say. Obviously, a skillful and gifted writer.
Very generous. So I was very happy about that. As a young writer, to have a master tell you that. Norman Mailer also said once, "What's the point of being a writer if you can't irritate a great many people?"
That's a cute line. Maybe it's true. I do not know. Certainly, I guess he did a lot of very good things. But I guess when you're a public figure, every once in a while you kind of slip up and look foolish. You just call the situation wrong. You just because I do remember that at the feminist conference, I saw it on the news or some news show, and I remember thinking, no, you really aren't catching this really.
I've just been invited to teach in Kuwait.
Oh,
and
my
when
goodness.
I asked them, which workshop would you like, The Way of Story or Heal Yourself with Writing? And I was told, we want the healing one. So I'm going there in February. That should be interesting.
Will you be teaching men or women?
It'll be both together, which surprised me.
Well, that'll be very interesting. Is that dangerous?
I hope not. If I don't come back in February, that's where, look for me.
No, actually, there's danger in places, isn't there? Other places?
I suppose. I kind of feel that when it's your time, whether you're sitting in your living room or in Asia, And I teach all over the world. I'm going to, in May, I'm teaching The Way of Story in Tuscany.
Oh,
so
that'd be lovely.
I invite anyone who loves writing and loves Italy. It's a restored monastery in a vineyard, so there'll be gourmet food and wine, and the information's on my website, wayofstory.com.
Yes. So again, Catherine, please give us all your contact information at this juncture.
Everything's up at wayofstory.com. I work as a writing consultant. I do workshops all over now in England, Europe, America, and so on. I'm doing one at the end of this month in Ojai at the OjaiRetreat.org, or just go to wayofstory.com. I'm doing the Heal Yourself with Writing as a weekend, Friday night through Sunday. And teach at Esalen every August. And
Esalen remains, of course, there are many centers now, but when Esalen began in, I guess, the mid-'60s, I'm not quite sure, they really were, they were like, on the West Coast, they were it, weren't they? I mean, Esalen was very progressive.
I'm halfway through reading The Giant Story of Esalen. It's a book published 2 or 3 years ago, and it gives the history. And it's an amazing history. It still is a happening place. It's a little tamer now. People aren't taking drugs like they used to,
Right.
It's another era. Everyone's into health food now.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? People understand, So maybe the consciousness has is better or something. I'm not quite sure,
it's
but
more
better.
grounded anyway.
More grounded.
Yeah, but it's my favorite place to teach. I mean, it's unlike any place, So it's just great to go there and to be invited there every year. Last year I won the Outstanding Teaching Award there.
Ah.
So I got a little statue. They call it their Oscar.
So that's very nice.
So I have my Oscar.
Very good. Well, that goes. Other people in Ojai have Oscars too, don't they? Isn't it kind of a showbiz crowd living out there in Ojai?
Yeah. I've been nominated for Emmys, but I never got an Oscar. So.
Okay. Well, good luck on that. Good luck on that.
But teachings have its own reward because people come out of the workshops and say this was life-changing.
Great.
And it's what we called in the 60s trying to make a difference,
Yes.
And,
I remember the 60s.
Yeah.
Well, Catherine
But
Jones,
know what they say, if you remember the 60s, you weren't there.
Yes, actually, I think that's Robin Williams' funny line. It's a funny line, but actually it's not necessarily a truthful line, really. Actually,
that's true.
Depends, really.
I
Well,
agree.
Catherine Jones, it's been a great pleasure having you as a guest today on Here's to Your Health. You'll have to return as a guest.
I would love to. And if anyone wants to know more, wayofstory.com.
Thank you very much.
Reach me. Thank you,
My
Joshua.
pleasure. You've been listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Hi, this is Susan Levin, owner and founder of Speaker Services, inviting you to join me and co-host Jean Noel Bassiar on Monday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific, for our new show, Talk Up Your Business, Speak Your Way to More Profits. We'll be talking to you about how to use your expertise to grow your business or service through speaking. Our expert speakers and author guests will share their stories and success secrets with you. Don't forget to tune in to Talk Up Your Business Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LaTalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Hello, this is Angela DeJoseph. Join me Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific for the Angela DeJoseph Show. Join me as we venture into health, wealth. We're going to give you news, interviews, and entertainment. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, Live 365, Radio Flag, TiVo Radio, and now live on Facebook. Or watch and listen directly at LaTalkLive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dawn Christie inviting you to join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for my all-new show, The Dawn Christie Show. Join me as I discuss love, spiritual readings, your purpose, why am I born, what am I here to do. So don't forget to tune in The Dawn Christie Show at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Barbara Perkins, inviting you to join us every Sunday afternoon at 2:40 for Sisters at the Well Radio, a conversation with women about women. Join us as we share stories about current events, jazz events, business opportunities, health and wellness, entertainment, and so much more. So don't forget to tune in Sundays at 2:40, exclusively on LaTalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, or watch and listen directly at LaTalkLive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez.
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LaTalkLive.com. Inspirational radio
with a touch of recovery.
A reality show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who says it.
Exclusively on LaTalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
And now, co-host of Here's to Your Health, registered pharmacist, educator for boron homeopathic medicines, Rapahele Cohen-Bacry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Josh, for giving me the opportunity. I think we're going to have a really nice segment with my guest, Dr. Sanda Moldovan, who's a dentist in Beverly Hills and Santa Monica and a couple of other places.
Yes.
And she's going to answer my questions and tell us about her. Would you like to introduce yourself and give a little bit about your background and what you do?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Raphael, for inviting me. Number one, I'm excited to be here to talk about oral health.
Mm-hmm.
And really, my motto is, if the eyes are the windows to the soul, then the mouth is a gateway into your overall health.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's so often forgotten, especially when we go to the doctor, they forget to look in the mouth. So I'm really trying to bridge the gap between dentistry and medicine. So I'm Dr. Sanda, and I have a periodontal training with a master's in oral biology. And I also am a certified nutritionist. And
that's a great combination.
Thank you. I see so many nutritional deficiencies in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to go and study more nutrition and to combine the two.
I have a question regarding that because I don't know if it's because I'm from France, but I remember as a kid, I had a lot of teeth issues. And the only thing that the dentist would tell me is do not eat candies, right? But they wouldn't tell me anything else. We were not really good at, flossing and everything. But I think it's so important to know what food can do for you, right? And how it can help and how it can also damage your teeth.
Definitely. And, we have a lot of cavities, not only in children, though, but also in adults that we see today because of the dry mouth issues that we have today. We have more and more people on different medications and, that could cause dry mouth. But also with children, I grew up in Romania. So actually, I have quite a number of fillings in my mouth. And I visited the dentist quite a bit. And I was told the same thing like you. Just don't eat candies. But actually, it's not just the candy. For example, chocolate. We can have chocolate.
Okay.
And it's so beneficial for our health, especially dark chocolate.
So you mean cool. even though it has sugar?
Even though it has sugar, it's not a sticky food. So if you have a sweet tooth and you want to satisfy that craving, just have a piece of dark chocolate.
Okay.
And that's great, and it doesn't cause cavities. What causes cavities is actually sticky foods. So like toffee, but also breads. Bread, bagels, chips, so it's not just candy.
So the starchy food or the carbohydrate that turn into sugar and stays there, that's what we should be more aware of.
Exactly. That's what we should be more aware of because the bacteria that causes cavities loves that sticky food, that carbohydrate-like food. So it causes a little acid, and that acid, as a byproduct of their eating, destroys the tooth. That's what really happens.
So what if you brush your teeth right after you ate bread? Is that okay? Or I just love bread, so I'm trying to find a way.
Yeah, I love bread too, and that's actually very important. At least, let's say it's great to brush your teeth after eating bread, and even if you don't have a brush, let's say just have some water, swish it in your mouth. and just check with your tongue to make sure you don't have any food stuck on your teeth. That's a great way to fix that, and you could still have the bread.
Okay, I'm happy now. So I'm sorry I interrupted you. So you studied nutrition specifically because you wanted to understand more what happens with the food and your teeth, but also as a general way of being healthy, I guess.
Yes, and also, I do quite a bit of surgery. 70% of what I do are oral surgery, like dental implants, biopsies, gingival grafting, and really rebuilding smiles. That's what I do. So I saw that some patients would heal fine and some wouldn't. And I wanted to give my patients some nutritional advice on how to heal better.
Okay.
And I'm actually in the process of writing a book right now called Healing for a Pill Popping Nation, which should be out in the next few months.
Oh, that's great. You have to let me know.
Definitely.
Did you write other books before?
No, it's my first one.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I will be talking actually about homeopathy,
which is my little favorite topic.
Yes.
So yeah, and actually that's how we got to know each other better when you got into homeopathy. And would you like to say, a little bit what you can do with homeopathy as a dentist and an oral surgeon?
Yeah, I would love to. And I love that homeopathy is so available today. Like you walk into a natural food store and it's right there. So I could send my patients.
Change.
Yes, big change from what it used to be. So I'm glad I met you during the course, and I took the course because I thought homeopathy was herbal.
Yeah, a lot of people have, and we still need to clarify that. With Josh, we're always trying to, make the difference between homeopathy and herbal, and we just need to repeat it because it is a little bit confusing when you don't know.
Yes, and the thing is, herbal medication can be toxic, but homeopathy is very safe. And that's a major thing that I tell my patients. A lot of them are worried, can I overdose on arnica? Is it gonna, I said, no, the homeopathy arnica, you cannot. So arnica is something that I use quite a bit right after surgery because it really helps with bruising and swelling and the discomfort following a procedure.
So because you didn't use homeopathy, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, so you can really compare what you see now and what you used to see as far as the healing?
Yes, I definitely can compare the results, and I have much less discomfort today compared to what I used to, and especially in more extensive procedures. Even for myself, I use homeopathy. Arnica, for example, for bruising, and I do find that it reduces the length of the bruising as well as the discomfort.
I remember not so long ago I had a root canal, and my dentist was very sorry, and you have to do it. It's going to be really painful. But I did my little protocol, including arnica and other medicines, and maybe I was lucky, but didn't I healed really fast. Didn't get the swelling and the pain. So it's maybe something we should just advertise more.
That's true, and I would love to talk to more dentists about it because it's a great asset for our treatment protocol, and it's something that's very safe, and it really helps us.
But someone like you would be great to advocate homeopathy to dentists, because I have tried a little bit with what I call conventional dentists. It's just difficult. They're not open to something different. So I'm always more successful with dentists who are more holistic. And I think it's a shame because so many people could benefit. Like you said, it's safe. It's cost effective.
Yes.
And it works. So.
And it works. Yeah, it's definitely cost effective. I actually keep even a gelsemium for anxiety. How many patients hate to come to the dental office? Oh, here's my dental appointment, even for cleaning, including myself. I hate to be sitting in the chair.
Yeah, because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so it's just the gelsemium. It's a great medication to decrease that anxiety.
So do you give it in the office, or you tell the patient to be prepared and buy it before they come?
I usually tell them to buy it before they come in. I carry with me even for when I fly. If I have a long flight and I'm a little bit edgy about, it just helps me calm down.
It calms you down, and again, you don't have the potential side effects of other medications. You don't feel drowsy. You're still yourself.
Yes.
You're just more relaxed.
Yes, exactly.
Do you see a lot of bleeding gums or problem with? I had a hard time understanding that gums are part of your, not the mouth, but the health of your mouth too. I thought if I have healthy teeth, I'm fine, but I hear people have problems with gums
Yes.
and receding gums, and is that something that you see a lot too? Or?
Yeah, so according to the National Institute of Health, about 70% of people in United States have some form of gum disease.
That's a lot. That seems a lot.
It is, isn't it? And the thing is, gum disease doesn't really cause pain until it's in its advanced stages.
So you don't realize you have it.
Exactly.
Right.
So most people, unfortunately, have the disease, just like diabetes, for example. It doesn't cause any pain. So half of the population that has diabetes don't even know they have it. It's the same thing with gum disease.
So only your dentist can determine if you have it in the early stages?
Yeah, so normally, we look at what is called pocket depth. So that's the gum around the tooth. We measure the little distance to the base of the where the bone starts.
Okay.
And if those pockets get higher and higher, that means you're starting to develop gum disease. And it's such a complex disease because it's a chronic low-grade disease. And it has a genetic component. So some people are more predisposed to having it than others. It also has a bacterial component to which we could test for today. And it also has to do with a patient's immune system and their status, whether they're stressed out. We see more exacerbating disease, and whether their vitamin D is low, for example. We know that's associated with increasing dental infections.
And with the whole thing about not getting in the sun, I guess your vitamin D level is very often low now.
Yes, exactly. And that's actually something, as a nutritionist, I do test my patients with just a simple finger prick. You could actually test for vitamin D.
So let me ask you, if a patient comes to you, do they know you're going to do you have all that expertise, or they just think you're going to take care of one tooth that's painful? How do they approach you? Because this is pretty unique from what you're saying. What you do in your practice.
Yeah. So most patients, I think, still think of me as more of a periodontist.
Could you explain the difference? Or what a periodontist is exactly?
Sure. Actually, you're right. Most people, I think, don't know what a periodontist is unless you go visit one. And then you'll never forget. So a periodontist, we really treat the foundation around the teeth. So we look at the bone health and the gum health around the teeth. And we also
with X-ray, or you can just by looking?
We do X-rays, sometimes 2-dimensional and sometimes 3-dimensionals, like CT scans. And also just by measuring and looking at the bleeding. So I deal with not only periodontal disease, but like putting dental implants and rebuilding structures, rebuilding bone. So it's a surgical profession.
But you also deal with the usual issues that you go to your dentist for, or that's more you have a colleague who does that, the cavities and all that?
Yes, I work with a colleague that does the general dentist who works with the cavities and things like that. However, as a nutritional side, if I see somebody has several cavities, I'm going to talk to them about their diet and how to avoid it and how to remineralize the teeth.
Oh, that's something you can do?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So if we actually test the pH in the saliva, we get different levels. So ideally, we'd like to be more of a neutral pH.
Which is around 7. Right?
7.4 is even better for the saliva. Most of us today, because of the stress or processed foods or not enough water intake, we have an acidic pH.
Do you test it with the paper?
Yes.
Okay, so we can even do it at home?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, and it's something I do for myself just to kind of see where I'm at.
Does it vary during the day?
It can vary during the day, but ideally what you want to do is measure it in the morning when you wake up because you haven't eaten. And then you can get an accurate level where your body is. So if you're more on the acidic side, what you want to do is incorporate foods in your diet that are more alkaline.
Such as?
Such as dark leafy greens. Reducing sugary foods and reducing starchy foods. And avoiding things that are really acidic, like colas, for example, like things like that. Fruits are okay on the other side. Interestingly enough, lemons and limes are alkaline forming.
It's always a little bit difficult to understand it because it tastes acidic, but it's the way the byproducts are more alkaline. But I know it's for people it's a little bit confusing.
That's
but just
true.
remember that we can have lemon and oranges. Right?
Yes, that's true. However, don't overdo it, just like anything else. For example, if, I had a patient the other day who said, oh, I eat 4 oranges a night. I said, wow, that's extreme. So if you really like citrus, just remember, don't brush your teeth right after eating citrus. Because what happens is, in the mouth, the fruit is acidic. So even after drinking Coca-Cola, for example, don't brush your teeth right away. Wait about half an hour for the saliva to rebalance a little bit the pH. Because what happens is if you actually brush right after eating 4 oranges, you can wash away the enamel. You can actually wear away the enamel.
Especially if you brush right when it's still acidic in your mouth. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, and if the saliva is acidic, that's going to cause more cavities, right? It contributes to more cavities? Okay.
That is right. So the saliva is acidic and contribute to more cavities. And that's a way for somebody to test themselves at home. There's so many self-diagnostic tests that we could do at home today. The pH paper strips, you could buy them at any natural food store today or a pharmacy.
I'm going to try it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's very interesting because sometimes it seems that you eat the right food, but maybe it's not working for you or maybe it's not the right quantities. So it's such an easy tool.
Exactly. So it's something you could do at home, so it's easy.
Would you say there's also a relationship between the pH in your saliva and canker sores? I don't know if it's the right term, but aphthous ulcers, or is it related to that?
Canker sores are a very interesting topic. It can be related, but what we find now today is canker sores can be related to gluten intolerance.
That's what I read, yes.
So I always, if I see somebody that had canker sores, I ask them if they have any stomach bloating or gas and what they're eating, what their diet is like. If somebody has wheat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they have the discomfort, bloating, gas, and they get canker sores, more likely they're going to have a gluten intolerance and they should get off the wheat and the breads that contain gluten.
So again, are we talking about a canker sore twice a year, or is it something that has to be really happening often? So you look into it.
Yeah, so some patients get them twice a year, some patients get them twice a week, and they can be very painful. But maybe twice a year is not going to be related to gluten. It may be more related to a mineral deficiency.
Okay.
So that's something else that I do is micronutrient deficiency testing. So if you have, for example, you're low in zinc or magnesium, you may develop canker sores.
So that's also an indication that something is not in balance.
Yes. So that's why I say the mouth is a gateway to the health. We see if your mouth is healthy or not. It shows us imbalances in the body.
I think it's fascinating. Do you use homeopathy for canker sores?
I do use homeopathy for canker sore. Yes, there's 2 medications that I love to use. Merck Sol, and that really, I've had patients with a condition called lichen planus, which is really advanced form of canker sore that we can look at, and that's constant goes on for months.
It's so painful. Huh?
Very, very painful. It's basically like an open wound in the mouth.
How can you eat?
Very difficult.
That's a problem too.
Very difficult. So I've had great success with Merck Sol and also Apis for pain, for that burning, stinging sensation. In the past, what we used to use and what I was trained to use at UCLA Periodontics, where I did my program, is corticosteroid medication because we don't know why they pop up. Now we know it's also a food intolerance or a food allergy. So we test for that when we see that. But to get immediate relief, I've had 80 to 90% relief of symptoms by using these 2 homeopathic medications.
Huge. Say it again, Apis and Mercurius solubilis, right?
Yes, those are the 2.
Dr. Sanda, because we're getting close to the end of our segment, I want you to mention how people can contact you. If you have a website, what's the best way to read about you? What's the best way?
So you could, I'm a regular contributor on the Doctors TV show on CBS, so you can find me there.
Okay.
But also, if you go to my website, drsandamoldovan.com.
Maybe you want to spell it.
drsandamoldovan.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I post information on there that is related to nutrition and oral health.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a page called Ask Dr. Sanda on Facebook.
That's great.
And I place nutritional answers for patients that are curious about this and that.
And they can also contact you for an appointment or to find out about the offices where you work?
Yes, I work in Beverly Hills and Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
And the number there is 310-826-6886.
One more time.
It's 310-826-6886.
Thank you. And you do accept new patients?
Yes, I accept new patients.
They come by themselves, or they're usually referred by other dentists? Or
no, we have lots of patients today that know their gums are bleeding. If you look in the mirror and you see, every time you floss, your gums bleed, don't ignore that sign.
Important.
I would see a periodontist.
Okay.
Because they're more specialized in gums.
You recommend flossing, right?
Definitely. We have a saying, only floss the teeth you want to keep.
That's
so, yeah.
But sometimes, it can hurt a little bit. I know we made a lot of progress with the floss itself, but I remember at the beginning it was a little bit hurtful, or you could bleed when you wouldn't do it well, but you're still saying that's what you have to do, right?
Flossing is a good thing, yes. And I use this floss called expandable floss. It's like a little sponge.
Yes.
So it doesn't cut in the gum. It's very gentle.
Okay.
And it cleans very well. I have to give you a sample.
Yeah, you do it before you brush or after?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Flossing is probably more important than brushing because bacteria loves to hide in between the teeth where you can't get to it.
Very interesting. What about, the water pick?
Any kind of water pick or flosser is great, especially for people that don't have good dexterity and they can't brush well or floss. So it's really a great adjunct to cleaning.
Dr. Sanda, give us, I'm sorry to bother you, but give us your website again, because I know people sometimes are driving, they cannot, write it down. Give us your website and phone number.
Great. So my address is drsandamoldovan.com, and my number is 310-826-6886.
Thank you so much. This was Rapahele Cohen-Bacry, co-host on Here's to Your Health. And today I had Dr. Sanda Moldovan, dentist and periodontist. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
So we're going to listen to those important messages, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Okra Group Personal Chefs, proud sponsors of Let's Do Lunch with Chef Richard Petty. Okra Group Personal Chefs have been providing quality gourmet culinary services to distinctive homes since 2004. For a free evaluation of dietary needs, call 818-850-9584. That's 818-850-9584. We will design a custom menu that fits your needs. So call us today, Okra Group Personal Chefs. Let us personally make you a dish.
Hey, shout us out. What's the count? I'm your host, Ferran Dozier. I'm inviting you to join me on WDC Radio every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as we discuss community topics around health, sports, and entertainment. So don't forget to shout us out. What's the count? On WDC Radio, only on LaTalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. What's the count?
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on LaTalkLive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Y'all ready for this?
Hi, I'm Jerry Bell of the Daz Band in New Birth. And I'm Brahima Arsalan. Inviting you to join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time for Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics, baby. Join us as we play some of the greatest hits of soul and R&B and listen in to interesting discussions with the legends of the music. So don't you forget, join us on the Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics. You'll love it. Exclusively on LaTalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch us and listen directly at LaTalkLive.com, baby. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk, baby. We're music.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is my co-host, Raphael Cohen-Bacry. Raphael Cohen-Bacry is a registered pharmacist, and Raphael is the educator for boron homeopathic medicines. Raphael, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you, Josh.
Nice to have you here again today.
Nice
and the topic today is what?
I wanted to talk about sinus issues, mainly sinus pain, sinus headache, pressure, because this is a common problem actually. And I remember, I think it was a few months ago, I posted a homeopathic treatment for sinus pain on my blog. I had so many feedback about that, and I looked into it. Apparently, millions of Americans suffer from those issues every year. We don't talk about it that much because people think it's that's I suffer from that. I just have to bear with it and wait. And there are different reasons, but very often for people who are prone to sinus issues, very often after a cold, or people who have allergies, when it's the allergy season, very often it gets to the point where it's so painful. Here we have pollens almost all year round, but we do have, with September, October, we have like a new kind of pollens with the trees and everything. So people are going to feel those issues even more now. And there are a lot of prescription drugs, a lot of OTC drugs that are available. They do work, but you can't take them for very long. They have a lot of side effects, a lot of interaction. I'm thinking about the steroids. They have the
steroids. Oh my goodness.
Steroids.
Yeah.
They have what we call the rebound effect, meaning you cannot take them for very long, and when you stop, you feel even worse.
Yes.
So it's not the right solution. Sometimes, there's a place for all those medicines. If you have a sinus infections, definitely you need, antibiotics, provided that it's a bacteria, because they won't do anything against viruses. But
Could viruses cause a sinus infection?
Yes, you can. Yeah. And so.
And how would a person get a sinus infection caused by a virus?
It's an infectious agent. You can get a sore throat. It can be a bacteria or a virus. And that's why, doctors, physicians are very often in a difficult position, because people, they get sick, they have a sore throat, they want antibiotics, and it's not always easy to explain to them. Yes, you have very similar symptoms as, what you would have if you had a bacterial infection, but this might be a virus. It won't do anything good to you. The antibiotics are not going to work, and you're going to have problems, antibiotic resistance.
Right.
So usually there are, even only without testing, the doctor is usually able to determine if it's a virus or a bacteria. Sometimes it's more difficult, but I'm talking more about the early stages, because we don't want the problem to become an infection. And what happens when you have either a cold or any kind of particles or irritants that can provoke a swelling of your nasal passage. What it does, your sinuses cannot drain anymore. And because there is irritation, they're going to produce more mucus. So you're going to have all that mucus that cannot drain. And bacteria love mucus. That's where they proliferate.
Right.
So when you cannot drain, that's when you're going to get to an infection, possibly. So you don't want that. Most of us, when we have a cold, it can go by itself. But again, if you know that you're prone to sinus issues, don't let a cold lingering. Treat it. What you want to do actually is to have your nose clear and your mucous membrane moist. That's a good way to summarize what you need to do.
Right.
And because sometimes you have a runny nose and you want a dry nose, right? That would seem logical. Right. But no, you need to have your membranes, all your nasal passages moist, and that's why I recommend drinking a lot of water, but also it's old-fashioned, but I think it works so well, like inhalation. Just putting your head above a bowl with hot water and maybe a little bit of eucalyptus essence. That does the trick.
You mean inhaling that?
Yeah, that
warm
vapor. Yes.
And by the way, you are a registered pharmacist. Yes. And where did you go to school?
Paris.
What school?
The University Paris Sud.
And when you recommend these homeopathic medicines as a registered pharmacist, the reason you can make specific claims for these homeopathic medicines is because they are regulated in the United States by the Food and Drug Administration as drugs.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
I want to clarify that.
And I also want to clarify that I don't see patient here anymore. In France, that was my daily job to consult patients, but here I don't anymore. So I just on the radio.
Oh, that's good. It's very nice. Yes. And so if I have sinus pain, what can I take?
Okay. First of all, you want to determine if it's. You just want to be sure it's not an infection. So if it lasts for more than, I would say, 7 days, or if it gets really bad, if you have, of course, fever, if you are, sometimes you have swollen eyes, or it becomes red, or if you start to draining pus, or that's when you really need to see a doctor, and you really feel bad, you really feel tired. So it's a big difference. But if you have the basic sinus condition, which is pain, pressure, like a pressure in your sinuses, if you press on your cheeks and on your forehead, it's painful. So what you can do, besides all the natural tips that we can go over later, but there's a really good what we call combination medicine that Boron manufactures. It's called Sinusalia.
What's it called?
Easy, sinus salia, like a
Sinus, okay.
sinus. It comes in tablets or in pellets. It comes in tablets or in pellets. I like to recommend the pellets for the children between 6 and 12. They like the pellets better. It's easier for them to take. They put them under their tongue, but it's the same medicine. And the tablets for the adults or children above 12. So you take 2 tablets and you let them melt in your mouth. And as you know, you cannot overdose with homeopathic medicine. So you're going to repeat it maybe every 2 hours until you feel better. I would say up to 6 times a day.
And when I'm using the little tiny pellets, I take 5 at a time.
5, absolutely.
And I do it I could do it every 2 hours if I'm feeling really rotten.
Same thing, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to feel relief after 2 or 3 intakes, and you can just stop. This is not a treatment that you have to complete like an antibiotic treatment.
Now, on the tablets, if I take 2, is that because they're more potent for each one?
That's an excellent question, and it's same thing for the pellets. Why 5? Why not 6? It doesn't really matter. We just want to be consistent, and it's sublingual absorption. So you want enough medicine, so it would go through your capillaries.
Yes.
And 1 pellet, it's not enough. You just want to cover that area of the tongue. But and you give the same to someone who's really tiny or someone who's really big. So it's not really weight related, which is a great thing for parents, I think, because I know parents worry if they leave their children to a babysitter. For those antibiotic syrup, they need to measure. Maybe she gave it before she left, and now they don't know if they have to give it. So with homeopathy, you don't have to worry about that. So it's very relaxing to rely on homeopathy. If you act early on, you can get rid of the problem really easily. Sinus salia is a combination of 3 medicines that are really very often used in sinus problems. You have belladonna, the
belladonna, yeah,
very famous. So that's really for the swelling, the pain in the sinuses. You have spigelia and sanguinaria, and
pronounce those once again for me.
I'm sorry, we're using Latin names, but sanguinaria, it's the bloodroot.
Bloodroot.
Which is actually very interesting. It's a plant from America, from North America, and it has been known. A lot of our medicines have been known for a long time. It's like folk medicines, but now we're using them under homeopathic preparation. So it's different. But the history of the medicines is very interesting. And the bloodroot was used by Native Americans a long time ago because it's red. So they would use it to dye their clothing, their baskets. And it was also said that it had a power, if a man would wanted to court a woman, it would work better if he would put some of this paint on his face. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
So maybe you need to take sinus salia.
Okay. That's good to know, really.
But it's a very powerful plant. It's a poison. They were also using it as a poison and also as a medicine for many, many uses, rheumatism, warts. But we don't use it this way, not that I know of. It's only used, from what I know, it's only used under homeopathic preparation, which is totally safe.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, spigelia, it's the pink root.
So pronounce it once again.
Spigelia. And so it's also a plant for sinus pain. This one is typical of, a lot of people when have the sinus problem, they also have postnasal drip.
Yes.
And it's almost a vicious circle because it's very irritating. So it irritates your throat. So now you have sore throat and you're coughing and you don't always realize that it all comes from your sinuses. So that's a really efficient medicine. A lot of people use it. They find it really easy. They just have it in their pocket or in their at the office because again with homeopathy, the sooner you use it, the better result you can have.
This once again, let me have the 3 ingredients in your product, sinus salia.
So belladonna,
Belladonna,
spigelia, and sanguinaria.
So these are all. This is a plant-based product.
This one is we have a lot of other medicines, even for sinuses, that are not plant-based.
Homeopathic medicines.
Oh, homeopathic
You mean
medicines.
they might be based on a mineral?
Mineral. Actually, I think that's the majority of our medicines are from minerals.
And so homeopathic medicines in general are plant-based or mineral-based. Is that correct?
Plant-based, mineral-based, that's the majority. We also have a few animal-based medicines, such as snake venoms. Dr. Sanda was mentioning apis, which is
right.
from the honeybee.
Mm-hmm.
And that's typical of, swelling, edema. So this one happens to be more plant-based, yeah, definitely. But we work with a lot of different medicines. And actually, there are some what we call single medicines that you can also take when you have a sinus problem. I like that combination medicine because it's easy. You just go to the stores and it says sinus, so this is what you need. But if you want to be a little bit more accurate, and if you want to go and I would recommend in that case to talk to a physician who's trained in homeopathy. And this is interesting because it shows your listeners how homeopathy proceed, which is a little bit different. There's not one medicine for a sinus problem. The doctor is going to ask you, do you have any mucus? Because you can have sinus problems and no mucus at all, and it's just very dry, but you have the pain. So it's going to choose between different type of medicines if there is postnasal drip or runny nose, or if there is nothing. And then he's going to ask you, and we're not used to those questions, but is it a clear secretion, or is it burning? Is it thick? Is it a little bit pussy? And with all those different specifications, he or she's going to be able to determine the medicine that's good for you.
So the physician is going to get a health history from you.
Yes, and ask questions that we usually don't ask. And a lot of patients like that, actually, because many times you go to the doctors and you want to say, it feels like that, and it's not like last time. But that's not what they're interested in. They usually ask you have a cold? Okay, that's what I'm going to, or you have sinus problem, I'm going to prescribe steroids. And
my question for you, what is the history of homeopathy?
Homeopathy, it's not a recent technique, and people think it's new age, or it's not. It started 2 centuries ago, even more than that, in Germany. And just to put it in context, at that time, the treatments that were available were very potent and very often harmful. And we say that a lot of patients would die from the treatments more than from the disease itself, and all the other procedure, bloodletting, and they didn't know much.
And heavy use of mercury,
and all those. Yes.
And the bloodletting too. Like if you were sick with something, they literally drain blood out of you. This was the established medical protocol. Guy's sick, we'll just drain some blood.
Do you know that a playwriter in French, Molière?
Molière
is always mocking the doctors, and it's very close to the truth. That's all they were doing. Oh, you need a little bloodletting, and people were dying left and right, and that was the art of medicine. So there was a lot of frustration, specifically for one doctor that a lot of people know, Dr. Hahnemann. And he wanted to look into another way of approaching diseases, but also he brought, and that's still what homeopaths do, he brought a lot of hygiene into the daily life. People didn't know, so he was also successful because of that. But he tried a lot of plants and minerals and diluted them until he would still get the beneficial effect, but he would get rid of all the side effects. Mm-hmm. And he was able to dilute and deconcentrate the substances to really great numbers. And we haven't changed it a lot. It's still the same. It's just the way we're manufacturing medicine that is, of course, much more precise and controlled. But it's still the same principle of
And in how many countries would you say around the world is homeopathy popular?
I know boron is in more than 60 countries, But
Boron homeopathic medicines is sold in more than 60 countries around the world.
But there are other companies, and so it's almost everywhere. I would think.
And the Europeans, the French, the German, the Italians, they homeopathy is kind of like not a big deal, right? It's kind of like, hey, we're using that. It's not a big deal.
Well, it's true, but it's also under attack a little bit because it's cost effective. So it's the same story everywhere. Right. It's not very expensive, but it's the difference though is that it's not what we call it's behind the counter. So it's not available at the
CVS.
It is, but it's behind the counter. You have to talk to a pharmacist to get it because we consider it as a medicine. We do the same here, but it's different. People can self-medicate, which you cannot do in France with homeopathic medicines. And they're just doctors prescribe them as other medicines. It's just very common. But it's still sometimes there's a little bit of controversy.
And when you were a young pharmacist working in Paris, you were already aware of homeopathy and was like, oh, this is just part of what I do. It's not very adventurous. It's just part of what I do as a pharmacist to prescribe, to suggest these non-toxic, effective remedies.
Yes, it's just like the oscillococcinum, which is the medicine for flu-like symptoms. I believe, I don't know if it's still the case, it's the number one OTC, not OTC, but non-prescription medicine for flu in France. So it's, it's not in a specific category, it's just a flu medicine. But what I remember from working in pharmacies, that was just a great way of addressing a lot of problems with people who had already a lot of medications. You're always scared, with people come with, it doesn't happen that much now because of, I guess, budget issues, but they used to come, like elderly, used to come with 12 medicines. But like heavy-duty medicines for the heart, for the diabetes, and you were so scared to give a cough syrup that would interact, and
right.
So or pregnant women, that was this is so easy and efficient to recommend something that's not going to harm them and just help them recover better.
Right.
And that's specifically the case for sinus problems. It is so common, and what's available can be pretty problematic. Especially you never think about that, but a patient can go to a pharmacy and buy one medicine, and then it didn't work well, so he's going to go to another place and buy something else without realizing that it's the same family of molecules. So he's going to just add up all those potential harmful medicines.
And in France, the French government, as part of the health service, pays for these. These are part of it.
They used to reimburse almost the totality of the price. Now I don't follow. I've been gone for a long time, but I think they lowered the rate. Unfortunately, I believe maybe it's only 35%.
Well, I asked that question because the French government decides these work, and will pay for these.
Yes.
Right. Gotcha. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, but it's not very expensive anyway, so it's usually not the issue. But I see your point. It just shows that the government recognized the effectiveness. Totally.
And how are we doing in the United States? What's the state of homeopathic medicines in the United States?
It's growing. I know every year it's growing. It's growing in the stores. The sales are growing, and also the requests we are getting from physicians, like Dr. Sanda. This is pretty new, having people that quality. That level of physicians and dentists and even veterinarians are really looking into it. I mean, it didn't start a few years ago. It was there, but it was very only for a few people who would know. It was confidential. That's the word I was looking for.
Well, I do know that in my neck of the woods up in Agoura Hills, physicians recommend arnica, Montana, when they're going to do elective surgery. And people just use arnica montana. They use a lot of it, and the physicians, the surgeons recommend it in advance and during the procedure. And that's nice. It's just a mainstream item. It's not very exciting or dramatic or avant-garde. It's just just take this.
And that's what I would like to see more often, because it doesn't need to be complicated. But like plastic surgeons played a really big part for arnica to make it really well known, but it was because you can see it, so they didn't want to have those bruises. But like we were discussing before, it's great for dental work. You're going to have less swelling, less discomfort. You're going to heal faster. So why would you not use it? So
Right.
there are a lot of hip surgery. I have a lot of stories of people taking it without even telling the doctors.
Arnica Montana.
Mhm.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Every time there's a trauma, so surgery is a major trauma, and the great thing about that kind of trauma is that when it's scheduled, usually, not always, but when it's scheduled, you can really start your arnica a few days before and afterwards, and most of the time the surgeon is, what did you do? You recovered so much better. So there are a lot of applications for all those medicines.
So in general, you're based on your experience working in the field as the educator for boron, you're optimistic. I mean, it's going, this preventative healthcare is kind of, it's clicking.
Yes, and I think it won't, we won't go back to before, because it's too efficient, and I think it comes from the patients themselves. They hear about all the side effects. So now I don't want the opposite. I don't want people to quit taking their medicines. Like I was saying earlier, there's a place for everything. But if we work all together, we're going to get better results as opposed to work against each other. And I come from both worlds, so I know that it's important. Sometimes you need your antibiotics. You're not going to take your pellets, that's for sure. But why take antibiotics when you don't need them? But before, when doctors don't know about those medicines, they're stuck because they're going to send the patient back home with nothing. And there's nothing worse you can do to a patient than not prescribing anything.
Yes,
so.
you've mentioned to me that the patients really feel they
Cheated.
feel a little gypped if they no, I'm sick. I want, give me some medicine. No, you don't need any medicine. No, give me medicine. So I mean they have a certain pressure, the MDs.
Of course, yes, and I'm still uncomfortable with having ads on TV about medicine. We don't do that in France.
Yeah,
so far.
I could let them. They could stop doing that. Probably be a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
No, the pharmaceutical guys have a lot of clout here in the United States. But it does seem to me that they maybe advertise in a medical journal, but not really on television. It seems,
misguiding a little bit.
Seems misguided, yeah.
But,
It is certainly great fodder for many comedians who, will tell you the list of side effects of a medication and say to the audience, well, why am I taking this? And they make a good point.
They do. But again, there are times where you need them and they're fantastic, but there are many situations where you can just handle your issues with homeopathy or other alternative medicine.
If someone had sinus pain or they didn't feel, could they just take Apis by itself and get some good results?
Apis would work in a situation where there is swelling, like an edema, and that you feel better if you put cold on your face. My experience, and that's a little trick that can help people, when you have that sinus pressure, you can put warm cloth, on your, like with warm water, and it really helps. So in that case, Apis wouldn't work so well because Apis is really for an edema that's relieved by cold.
Okay.
So maybe I don't think that would be the best. I think belladonna would be much better. That's what we have in Sinusalia.
Actually, what flower is belladonna again?
The deadly nightshade.
Deadly nightshade. Okay.
Which is, remember it's an old plant, also very toxic, that people used to put the extract in, women in, I guess, Venice. They would put that in their eye to, cause the dilation of the...
It was beauty. It was a beauty treatment.
Yeah, now it's like...
It was fashionable at one time.
Yeah, I know. I don't recommend.
No.
But again, when it's a homeopathic medicine, there's no risk at all. It's totally safe. And we use it a lot for fevers, for everything. There's a swelling or it's painful. So that's very typical of sinus problems.
And what about the third ingredient you mentioned, which... The
spigelia or the...
Spigelia, and what is that from again?
So the spigelia, it's the pink root.
Pink root.
It's another weird...
that's an American in origin from the United States?
It's from Jamaica,
I
think.
I see, okay.
That's what I recall. But, and, just I brought also colcam. I don't want to confuse people with too many information, but you want to act early on when you have a cold, so it doesn't get to that point where you have sinus problems.
Yes.
So I would use Cold-Calm in the early stage of the cold. If you didn't, or if for whatever reason it still goes to the sinus problem, that's when I would take the Sinasalia. That's the sequence I would use. Same thing, if you get a sinus problem after an allergy, try to treat your allergy first, when it starts. With homeopathic medicine, I think we discussed our Sabadil, which is the combination of medicines for allergies. Always treat the cause first, and then if it goes to the sinus pressure, the sinus headaches, then you can treat with Sinasalia.
All right, so let's say a person thinks, oh boy, I'm getting a cold. I'm going to get a cold. On the Cold-Calm, they would take 2 tabs. How often?
I would say same thing, maybe 3 times a day is fine, but if they have a lot of sneezing, a lot of runny nose, they can take it more often. And then they decrease the intakes as soon as they feel better. The great thing about this one is it works at the 3 stages of the cold. So even if you miss the first, when you're getting the cold because you didn't have it or you were not at home, still take it because it's going to help, shorten the duration and the severity of the symptoms. So that's the number one. And then you switch to your Sinasalia if you need to.
Well, that seems like very good advice. And again, I can buy these at natural food stores around town and drugstores, and they're just everywhere now.
It's really those what we call the cold, cough, and flu. They're really available in many, many chains now. A lot of pharmacies carry them. The chains like Whole Foods, Sprouts. It's very easy. If you don't find them, you can go on our website, which is www.boron.usa.com, and you can always ask questions. I think there's a store finder. You just put your key in your zip code and it tells you where you can find the medicine. So it's easy.
Well, Rapahele Cohen-Bacry, thank you for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health. It's been a great pleasure as always. Thank you.
Always a pleasure to be
fun.
here. Thank you.
You've been listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Hi, this is Jean Noel Bassior, inviting you to join me for my new show, The Book Beat, Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. I'll be talking to authors about their latest book so you can find a fantastic read. But more than that, I'll be talking to experts about how you can write your own book and get it published. So tune in on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. exclusively on LaTalkLive.com. And remember, you can catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on LaTalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at LaTalkLive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute. Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. My next guest is Archie Scott, who is a wellness consultant and who works with DMSO, which has been popular for a while. And Archie Scott, you may have seen him lecture last week at the Cancer Control Society at the Sheraton Universal off Lancashire, one of, in my opinion, the most important wellness meetings of the year held in the United States on a yearly basis. Archie Scott, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so last week you were at the Cancer Control Society and you lectured on DMSO.
Yes, I did. That's right.
Yes. And for my listeners who don't remember what DMSO, I know was popular years ago, what is DMSO?
Okay, DMSO, it's dimethyl sulfoxide. Chemically, it's two methyl groups, sulfur and oxygen. It's a product that is derived from paper making. It's a waste product from paper pulp.
Huh.
And it's been used medically now since 1961. It was first synthesized in 1866 and basically forgotten until about the 1950s when some of the paper companies were interested in working with some of the tree-derived products.
And what does DMSO do for me?
It does a number of things. DMSO is used either by itself or in combination for ailments ranging from arthritis and athletic injuries to cancer, mental retardation, and stroke.
Well,
it does a number of things. First, it's a powerful anti-inflammatory. Now, most of the anti-inflammatories, either steroidal or non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, have some harmful side effects.
Mm-hmm.
DMSO does not have any of these harmful side effects. With DMSO, the only thing that you could consider a harmful side effect is the breath odor. Gives you sort of a garlic-like breath.
Right, and by the way, so now DMSO was very popular in the 60s.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of professional athletes used to use it to get rid of pain. Is that how it was mostly used?
Yes, originally that's the way it was used. That's how I got involved with it. I got involved with it in 1964.
No kidding.
49 years ago. I had a couple of injuries.
You played college ball?
Yes. And I was injured first. I had a knee injury in high school, and then 8 years later I had my other knee injured.
Huh?
And I was training for the U.S. Olympic trials.
Oh,
and I
in what field?
That was as a runner.
Oh my goodness.
And you can't train very well if your knees are hurting you.
You cannot, no.
And so I got involved with it. I used it. I found it was beneficial. And then from that, I contacted Dr. Stan Jacob up at the Oregon Medical School, which is now called Oregon Health Sciences University. And I got more information on DMSO, and I was also put on the mailing list of the medical school for other different developments in medicine. And so I got very interested in medicine from that. And initially, what I was involved with is basically treating athletic injuries, as I was a consultant to a number of well-known doctors, both here in California and Oregon, Nevada, Minnesota, New York. and also Mexico.
I see.
And a few other countries. And one thing led to another, and we found that DMSO is useful in treating such a wide variety of problems. Now, it's something you can use a number of ways. If you've got a local problem, you apply it topically.
Local meaning, I hurt my left knee, I put it on my left knee.
Yeah, you put it on your left knee.
Okay, right.
And it soaks right in. It's something that's a very potent penetrant. It can also be used by drinking it. It can also be injected either intravenously or intermuscularly.
Wow.
It's got so many ways that it's being used.
Okay, now let me ask you about your personal history. So you were training for the U.S. Olympic team as a runner. What was your event?
Okay, at that time I was training in the marathon.
My goodness. In 64?
Yep, in 1964.
Well, there weren't a lot of guys doing it then, were there?
No.
No, it was kind of a quiet sport there.
Right, that was one reason that I did it, because there were too many faster people. And so I figured I would try something where I had less competition.
And what was your time in those? What was your best time?
Well, I didn't make the U.S. team. My best time was 2:37.
2:37? Very respectable. What year was this?
1964.
Oh my goodness. You were fast. You're fast now, but you're certainly fast then. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow. Whoa.
And
It would have been just you and the Ethiopians at that point, right?
Right.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And there were a few people in this country that could outrun me at that event. Otherwise, I'd have been on the team.
Huh.
But I didn't.
And then, so really, as an athlete, there's a lot of injury, right, in sport? There's a lot of injury.
There's a lot of injuries. There still are.
And who told you about DMSO?
Well, the way I got involved, there was a neighbor who was one of the early guinea pigs for it.
See.
And he had some troubles walking. And he told me he was going to challenge me to a race. And I noticed he was walking better than I'd seen him walk before. And I asked him what happened. And he told me that he was an early guinea pig for DMSO and that it was fantastic. And he gave me a little bit of literature. And from that I found that Dr. Stan Jacob was basically the father of the medical use of DMSO. And so...
Excuse me, Dr. Jacob is still alive, is he not?
Yes, he is.
Yes. How old is he now?
About 91. He goes to the office every day.
Oh, really?
Which
Good for him.
Is unusual for a 91-year-old.
Yes, yes it is.
And he's, in good health. And part of it probably is because of the DMSO. Anyway, I got involved with it then, and then there were a few doctors that asked me questions about it, and I gave them information. And one thing led to another. And I got involved in treating a wide variety of ailments. I was a consultant for these doctors. I wrote the original protocols really for the IV treatment, the slow drip treatment with the DMSO and Laetrile.
Oh.
And I did not do that myself. The first doctor that did that was Dr. Elmer Thomason, a Newport Beach surgeon. And he got good results, and it spread from there.
Let's go back to your personal experience. So you were a championship runner, and you hurt your legs. I'm assuming, I don't put words in your mouth. And so what do you do with DMSO? You just put it right on the palm of your hand and just rub it right in as a liniment? I mean, how did you use it, and how can I use it if I'm a runner?
Okay, yeah. The way I used it, I just put some on my hand and applied it to my knees.
And then how soon before you think, oh my God, I feel better? How soon?
Practically immediately.
All right.
And the benefit continued to accrue over a period of weeks and months.
Mm-hmm.
And the DMSO, since it worked for that, and then I had a lot of MDs and chiropractors that started asking me questions about it. And so from there I got more and more involved, and I started reading various things in the literature about using it for, well, with cancer, stroke, mental retardation, just about everything.
All right. So now, obviously, cancer, that's an important subject. So in your opinion, based on your experience, how can DMSO be used successfully for a cancer patient?
Okay. There are a number of clinics right now, especially in Mexico, that use it with...
You can mention some names if you wish to.
Yeah, I'll just... there's a number of them there, but
Yeah.
you know, they can check on the clinics.
Certainly.
And they're getting better results than if they did not use the DMSO. Now, the way I got the idea for using the DMSO with the Laetrile, it was first used in combination with chemotherapy.
The DMSO was.
The DMSO was, and they got good results. Now, this was back in the late 1960s. I'm not an MD and never claimed to be one, but I think that whenever a doctor uses chemotherapy, they should combine it with the DMSO. It reduces the toxicity
of the chemotherapy.
The
DMSO reduces toxicity. Okay.
Yes, you can use a smaller amount. It's more effective, and this has been proven. It's in the scientific literature. This is a thing that.
And a cancer patient who receives receives DMSO, are they going to use it? Are they going to drink it? Are they going to rub it on their body? Are they going to have it injected? What's the
best way? The way it should be done is the doctor that administers the chemotherapy should administer it right along with the chemotherapy.
The DMSO and the chemotherapy at the same time.
Chemotherapy at the same time. Yes.
Does this allow the physician to use less of the chemotherapeutic agent?
Yes. And it's less toxic to the body, and you can get rid of the cancer more rapidly.
And what does DMSO do for a cancer patient? What's the mechanism?
Okay, it's a detoxifying agent. It potentiates the action against the cancer cell. DMSO has been found even just by itself as a free radical scavenger, and it is that's something I had not mentioned earlier. It's a very potent free radical scavenger. And as far as using the DMSO by itself, there's this Dr. Oz Salim. He's practiced in Scotland and also over in the Middle East, and he's done quite a bit of research on it, and scientific papers where it's well documented, and it's something that I think should be done, at least at these research hospitals. They should try it, especially on their terminal patients. If you've got somebody that's terminal, why not try something that may save the life of the patient?
Sure.
And on another area, back on the sports, recently there's been a lot of talk about the damage to the brain of football players.
Yes.
And this can be greatly alleviated, or possibly, as a big problem, eliminated with DMSO.
Really?
There are some of the players that have been retired for a number of years that are now using DMSO for some of their brain problems.
And Archie, Mr. Scott, so are they drinking the DMSO? Are they injecting it at the doctor's office? Or are they simply
Some of them
putting it on your skin.
Okay, some of them are getting injections, and these have been very successful. Now,
and where did I get the injections? Just in the arm or in the buttocks or something?
In the buttocks.
Yeah.
Very simple procedure, and the results have been positive. My recommendation would be that every football team, this doesn't not just the professionals, but at the lower levels, even the Pop Warner League.
Yeah.
Start
Kids.
from the very beginning.
Right.
That they get treated with DMSO before and after. They can drink a little bit before and apply a little bit to the head to prevent brain problems.
You mean I could put some in my palm and literally put it on my temples or my forehead or rub it on my scalp?
Yes. And those that have an obvious concussion in a game should be treated immediately, preferably with an IV infusion. Now, I think especially with the professionals, they have the doctors there, and they can take them right into the dressing room and give them this treatment. And this will help them in the future. These brain problems are not the result usually of one concussion. Most of it is a result of minor brain trauma thousands of times.
Right.
Now, I'm somebody that believes in football. I want my great-grandchildren playing football, but I want anything done to reduce the chances of injury.
Of course, there is a lot of injury in football.
There is, yeah. There's the knee injuries. The brain injuries now is what's getting the most publicity. And this is something that should be addressed as far as treating it. You prevent these things. A lot of these problems develop 30 years later. And you treat them at the time of the injury. And this applies to everybody, to anybody that participates in any kind of sport. And especially if you bang your head, well, you do something to alleviate the problem.
Now, DMSO periodically enjoys a big splash in the popular press, a big positive splash. I've never seen any real negative stuff about DMSO. The only thing people make fun of it about is it gives you a funny smell. You smell a little bit like garlic.
Right.
Is that the only reason, that silly reason, that DMSO is not as popular? People think, I've got to go to business. I can't smell like garlic. Is that it? Is that in a nutshell?
A lot of that is a lot of the problem. And of course, there's not a lot of money to be made off of it. Nobody's pushing it big. Like if you've got a new wonder drug, why a pharmaceutical company can make a lot of money off of it.
That's true.
Which is
right. That's fair.
That's understandable.
Right.
But this is something that was first synthesized back in 1866.
And again, it's derived from pine trees.
Well, from any tree.
From any tree.
It can be Douglas fir, pine, any.
Now, if I want to run out and buy some DMSO, because I've seen DMSO around various places, should I buy the DMSO in a dark glass bottle? Can I buy it in a plastic bottle? I mean, what's your opinion?
My opinion is dark glass bottle.
Dark glass bottle.
Because
is there a certain potency on the label I should look for?
Well, some of it says 99.9. Well, you don't want to use topically. You don't want to use that strong. You want to dilute it down to 90% or less.
90% or less?
Yeah.
And they dilute it with just water?
Just water. Yep. That's the way it should be. Now, we're talking about the football players and the brain injuries. Now, that brings up another aspect about the older people in this country.
Right.
One of the most feared problems is Alzheimer's.
Yes.
People are afraid of losing their mind.
Oh, yes.
And DMSO has been shown experimentally to dissolve the beta amyloid protein.
Really?
And the beta amyloid protein is now blamed for causing Alzheimer's. It's more or less universally accepted. Now, there have been some studies done using DMSO with Alzheimer's. The best probably was a study over in Moldova, and they got very positive results with these Alzheimer's patients.
Mm-hmm.
There was also, in Orange County, there was a psychiatrist who used it on his mother, who had some early stage Alzheimer's. And what he did, he gave her an injection consisting of DMSO,
Mm-hmm.
the Gervital H3, which is the Romanian youth formula.
Yes, right.
Vitamin B12, and organic germanium. And he got very dramatic results with his mother.
He was able to help his mom.
Yes, it helped his mother. And it was something he knew couldn't hurt her. And it's something that helped her. Now, as talking about the safety, there have been no documented cases of anyone dying from DMSO or having a real serious side effect. Now, it's something that you can overdose on anything. You can overdose on water.
Sure.
Or oxygen. But it's very safe.
Now, let's say I'm listening to your presentation and it makes sense, and I've decided that I exercise a little bit and I like to maintain my flexibility. If I was to begin drinking DMSO,
yes,
how much should I begin with?
Myself, when I first started it, I started off with a half a teaspoonful.
Half a teaspoon?
In a glass of juice, in a small glass of juice.
Like apple juice or something?
Water, yeah.
Okay, water.
Yeah.
So half a teaspoon of DMSO.
Yeah.
And again, in your opinion, you suggest less than 90% concentrate is better.
Yeah, when you put it in there, why it doesn't matter because you're diluting it down.
Oh, I see. Okay. Mm-hmm.
But if you're applying it topically, why you can have some stinging and burning if you put it on too heavily.
And if I was to use half a teaspoon of DMSO today, could I theoretically notice, and I did it every day for 4 or 5 days, would I say within a week notice that I felt a little more mentally clear, or I had greater flexibility in my bones and joints? Would I actually see something? Could I potentially?
You could potentially, yes. I'm not going to say you will,
Right.
but you could, definitely. It's something that I use it myself. I still do some running.
Really?
Competitive running in the shorter races.
Yeah, what do you run now?
I run the 200 meters, quarter mile.
May I ask how old you are? Can I ask?
Yeah, 76.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you were 75 or so. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you seem very vigorous, and to run is like, that's good, isn't it?
Yes, it's good.
It's a good thing, yeah.
People should be able to be physically active all their lives. There's no purpose in being alive if you're not able to enjoy your life.
Right, right.
And so DMSO is just one of many things that you can use to make yourself more healthy.
And let's say for you, you like to enjoy running and have been an athlete for many years, do you literally drink like half a teaspoon of DMSO every day? Is that what you do?
I don't do that. What I do, I apply it on my knees and feet. I've got a compound that's not straight DMSO, but DMSO is one of the major components in it. And I apply that. I brush my teeth with DMSO also.
Is that good for the teeth?
Yes. Now, the reason for that is I don't want to lose my teeth.
Right.
And I figure I want to live to a ripe old age, but I want to have everything working as well as possible.
You want to take everything with you when you go.
Right.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. And so I believe in using DMSO often. I think it should be in every doctor's medical practice.
Let me see a question now, once again, about the smell of DMSO.
Okay.
So do your clients say to you, listen, Archie, it certainly makes me feel better. My legs feel way better, but, I smell like garlic, and I just can't have that. So is it true that MSM is the dry form of DMSO?
Okay, MSM is derived from DMSO, and MSM does not provide you with the odor. It provides a lot of the benefits of DMSO.
It does give me some benefit.
It does a lot of benefits. If I were not going to use DMSO, I would use MSM, definitely.
Now, you work with Dr. Stanley Jacob up in Oregon,
Yes.
and he is the most important researcher. So how much MSM do you take, or would you recommend for men or women who are athletic? Is it 5 grams a day? Is it 10 grams a day? What do you suggest as a good number?
Okay, I would start off with a couple of grams a day.
At least 2,000 milligrams.
Yeah, and then build up.
To what?
Maybe to 10.
I can't take as much as 10.
Yeah.
Okay. I spoke to Ronald Lawrence, the MD.
Yes.
And Ronald Lawrence, who I believe lives in Malibu, and Ronald Lawrence is in his late 80s, is he not? Dr.
Yes.
Lawrence? Yeah. He told me he likes to recommend up to 10 grams, 10,000 milligrams of MSM, and I'd never heard anyone recommend that high an amount. But he said, well, he was a coworker with Dr. Jacob.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with it's not toxic.
Right.
You know,
And it's inexpensive, actually,
And
too.
it's inexpensive.
Right.
I think you could go a lot higher, but there's no real reason to.
Does it keep you stronger? Do you actually feel kind of stronger?
Yes. Like in my family, I'm the oldest of 4 children. My sister, who is the second oldest, has already passed on. I'm the healthiest of the bunch. And now my youngest sister, who didn't go that much for what I was doing, is now starting to use DMSO because of the fact that I'm healthy. And
it's hard to convince your family, yeah.
Yeah, it is very hard.
Right.
But I'm glad that my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren,
they listen to your advice?
Yes, they do.
Oh, that's good.
So it's good to have that. And I still play football with the great-grandchildren. You know, there's nothing wrong with playing football at 76.
No. I think most of my listeners would certainly be happy to be able to do that.
Yes.
So, Mr. Scott, if I was to buy MSM, once again, should I buy MSM in a glass bottle? Is that better?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Everything is better in glass. DMSO is a very potent. It will dissolve a lot of things.
Should I keep it in the refrigerator after I buy it?
No.
No?
You don't have to be in the refrigerator. DMSO can be broken down eventually by sunlight, so you have it in a dark glass bottle. And it'll keep for many years. It's without deteriorating.
Well, that's good. Mr. Scott, as we come to the end of the interview, how can my listeners contact you?
Okay, I'll give you my phone number.
Sure.
Which is 213-481-0473.
Let me have that once again, please.
Yes, 213-481-0473. And my address, contact number, P.O. Box 17881, Los Angeles 90017.
And do you lecture in the LA territory?
Yes, I lecture around Los Angeles, and I will go anywhere. Actually, if they pay my expenses, why, I'll go basically anywhere.
Sure.
You know, I've been a consultant to doctors throughout the country and also other countries.
Well, Archie Scott, this has been a very interesting subject, DMSO, and I would like to thank you for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. You've been listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Hey everyone, this is Richard Carr, Business Relations Manager for LA Talk Live. Did you know social media produces almost double the marketing leads of trade shows, telemarketing, direct mail, or even pay-per-click ads, and that about 46% of all online users count on social media when making that ever-important purchase decision. Hey, if you feel lost when it comes to social media, Top Tier Media can help you. Top Tier Media specializes in social media management and blogger outreach for beauty, fashion, health, and lifestyle brands. To learn more, go to www.toptiermedia.com. That's www.toptiermedia.com. Top Tier Media, the official social media marketing company of LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network.
Brooksy, maker of fine laptop apparel, laptop covers and sleeves, iPhone covers, and unique home decor. Brooksy laptop sleeves are made to order and can be custom made to fit your computer. Just send a message with your order telling us the model and the dimensions of your laptop, and we'll make you your very own sleeve in whichever design you choose. Any of the pillow designs can be turned into laptop sleeves too. Remember, Brooksy for all your computer embellishment needs. You can find Brooksy at www.brooksy.com. That's BROKESY.com. And remember to tell them that you heard it here on LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Okra Group Personal Chefs, proud sponsors of Let's Do Lunch with Chef Richard Petty. Okra Group Personal Chefs have been providing quality gourmet culinary services to distinctive homes since 2004. For a free evaluation of dietary needs, call 818-850-9584. That's 818-850-9584. We will design a custom menu that fits your needs. So call us today, Okra Group Personal Chefs. Let us personally make you a dish.
Hello, this is Angela DeJoseph. Join me Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific for the Angela DeJoseph Show. Join me as we venture into health, wealth. We're going to give you news, interviews, and entertainment. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, Live 365, Radio Flag, TiVo Radio, and now live on Facebook. Or watch and listen directly at LaTalkLive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dawn Christie inviting you to join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for my all-new show, The Dawn Christie Show. Join me as I discuss love, spiritual readings, your purpose, why am I born, what am I here to do. So don't forget to tune in The Dawn Christie Show at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
Closer to your microphone.
I'll sit on it.
That's good. That's good. We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is Marina Rose, who has the DNA Theta School of Healing here in Los Angeles and also in other major cities around the world. Marina Rose, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure having you on. I must admit that I do not know what DNA Theta Healing is.
Okay, so you want me to tell you?
Please.
Okay. DNA theta healing is it's a healing modality where you use psychic, intuitive energy. You're working with the creator of all that is, and you go into the person's body, into their cells, into their DNA to see exactly what aberrations they've got in their body. So you can treat everything and anything. There's nothing really that you cannot heal with theta healing, whether it is emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, psychological, physiological, whether someone has an ailment, like they've got cancers or any disease. And so we work on the emotional component. We also work on the structural component. We just go straight into the cells and the DNA. Creator basically tells us what's going on with them. We facilitate, as a theta healer, I facilitate the work. Creator actually does the work. And then upon me or us doing the work, if someone's got an ailment, I do send them back to the doctors to get tested because we're in this world. They need to get tested to see if the ailment that they have is gone.
Now, on this subject, this in intuitive work for healing, so some people, I guess, have it, but can you teach it to others?
Absolutely.
Or,
That's why I have a school.
I see.
Yeah, I'm a theta healing master, which still isn't the highest credential. The highest credential is Certificate of Science, and that means we teach all the classes and all the elective classes. There's 14 classes. I have students that come in from all over the world, all over the US, and we just teach them here in Santa Monica sometimes.
You have a school in Santa Monica.
I have a school on Main Street, another one in New York, Costa Rica, Australia, Italy, London.
And the course of study, what is the course of study?
What do you mean?
No, when a student comes in.
Yes. Oh, you want to know the first class?
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. The first class that they can take is the basic theta healing seminar, and that is the very first class. From there, they can break off into soulmate class, advanced DNA, which is advanced DNA. Then there is also rainbow children. From once they've taken advanced, then they can do another 4 or 5 classes. Once they've done intuitive anatomy, which is a 15-day class, which works with the whole systems of the body, all the emotions that go with those systems of the body. Every day we work on a particular system. Then they can do another 2 classes. Once they've done those 2 classes, then they can do another 1 class, and then they have a Certificate of Science. So just so we're clear, I teach all the practitioner classes, but I also help with certifying the Manifesting in Abundance seminar.
So you're involved with healing the physical body.
And emotionally and mentally.
So as a young girl, you just suddenly realized this was a great subject, or you had a gift, or you had a sense that this was just interesting ideas and you wanted to learn them. What was the origin for you?
When I was in my mother's womb. When I was in my mother's womb, I remember I remember, oh my God, if I do this, this happens. If I do this, this happens. I was so cognizant of everything that was going on. I literally came out of her womb. So I learnt the law of cause and effect in her womb. I sort of learnt the law of quantum mechanics in her womb, and I kind of learnt the law of quantum physics in her womb. So then when I came out of my mother's womb, there was still, if I do this, this happens. If I do this, this happens. So I was self-taught. I self-taught myself all the way up until 92, and that's when I actually started working professionally, studying healing professionally, I should say. I self-taught for many, many years because I've always been fascinated in the mind. The mind is the thing that just turns me on, the brain. Because the brain can make you sick, it can make you heal, it can make you do anything and everything.
The older I get, the more I completely agree with you.
I know, the brain. I mean, it is sexy, right? The brain, because it's like it has total control, whatever you want to program it for.
Right.
Is amazing.
It is remarkable. Yes, it's just remarkable because I am interested in wellness and the idea that emotion, I use that broad term, is so enormously powerful. We can't necessarily count it like 1, 2, 3, 4, But I think most people realize, oh my goodness, emotion is so powerful.
I think you can count it 1, 2, 3, 4.
Can you?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of finishing a book right now, and in that book I even specify I used to have hepatitis C, and I remember going to the doctors, and the doctors diagnosed me with hepatitis C, and I just was like, first of all, I was as sick as a dog. Secondly, he said there's no cure for it, and I was just like, are you kidding me? I'm going to die? It was that sort of thing.
Sure.
And then my own belief systems kicked in, which are really positive and really powerful. And I heard, but you'd be a great candidate for interferon. And all of a sudden I perked back up and I said, what are the, and I said, what are the side effects of interferon? And he told me, and I said, are you kidding me? I'll heal myself, thank you very much. You want me to be sick for how many years? 2.5 years with these symptoms? I don't think so. I'll heal myself. And what happened, Josh, is instantly, it was like, everything just zipped up, and I could feel the programming in my cells just happen. Right? And that was the beginning of the healing. I'm not dying, I'm going to heal myself. So it really was 1, 2, 3, 4. But the majority of people, a lot of people are very cognizant of the 1, 2, 3, 4, and some of them are not. And our subconscious mind is wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in Theta healing, we deal with the subconscious mind as well. So we have to be the master of our mind instead of our mind mastering us. That's a very Buddhist concept. And I heard the other people that you interviewed today, and I've been practicing Buddhism.
Oh, Victor and Kooch Daniels.
Yeah, for 25 years. It's all based on the law of cause and effect, all based on quantum physics, and all based on quantum mechanics. So the Buddhism that I practice is you have to be the master of your mind. Otherwise, your mind will master you, and you're done for. And that means in interpreting that, you have to be the master of your subconscious mind, which is 88%. Okay, according to Theta healing. Personally, I think it's between 88 to 98%. So you've really got 2 to 12% that wants to change your belief.
And since that obviously seems like a very important concept, is there anything you can share with my listeners, something they can start with to help them right away? A concept, something that you teach?
First of all, one of the first things I would teach is really know who you are and know when you're in your own body. Because so many people, like I have a lot of clients and students that come to me who are doctors, dentists, psychiatrists. They're all massage therapists, and a lot of them have had to give up their actual healing practices because they took in other people's energy. So as they were healing them, they were so compassionate, they were taking out other people's energy. So it's really knowing when you're in your own body and doing energy breaks from them so you can stay in your body. So it's really knowing who you are. Then being the master of your mind. Really cognizantly, just really working every day. This is what I want, and everything that I'm going to do in my life is going to lead to this. End of story.
Well, it's easy for you. Is that it? So when you were a teenage girl, you had this understanding, and did your parents support you in this?
Oh my God, yeah.
Your parents?
My mum and dad. I was born in Australia. Both my mum and dad are Italian, so I'm 100% Italian blood, just born in Australia, and old school, raised on herbs, raised on, psychic intuitive abilities. And my mum used to always say to me, "Don't listen to what a person says. Listen to your gut. You'll never go wrong." And so that's the way I've been raised. You listen to your gut. Yeah, listen to your intuition. Listen to Creator.
If I can ask you a personal question, how did someone who's careful such as yourself end up with Hep C?
Do I really have to go into that?
You don't have to actually know, but I thought, because Hep C is kind of a serious thing, and you don't have to.
Okay. I just got interviewed for a magazine, so I came out in that. So now I guess I'm coming out in a different way. Woo! I'm getting hot all of a sudden. Okay. I was a heroin addict for many years.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So I think that's how.
That seems very likely. Well, in that case, let me say
and my
that,
stomach is burning.
That you certainly look very vital. You look very healthy and vital. And And what I do for a living is I work with food as a healing tool. And I would never in a million years think that you were at one time not good with yourself.
Well, I was one of those weird ones like Keith Richards. Put a needle in your arm, get the vitamins. Exercise, do the gym, do this,
poor
do that.
Keith Richards, who is a very major talent. I'm a big fan of Keith Richards, but poor Keith looks like he hasn't been good with himself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Keith doesn't look like a vital specimen, really.
Right.
But you certainly do.
I mean, I really work on myself every day. I'm raw vegan. I think we may have discussed this on the phone. I'm raw vegan.
Yeah.
I really watch everything I eat. With Theta healing too, one of the beautiful byproducts of Theta healing is you reverse your age just from doing it. I mean, I literally do clients. If I'm not teaching, I'm doing clients 12, 13, 14 hours a day. When you're in that energy field of that pure unconditional love, because that's what Theta healing is based on, pure unconditional love. So here you are in this energy of pure unconditional love, and you take your client into that energy, you get restored back to perfect health continuously. Right? So there's that. There's the raw vegan part. I could do Kundalini Tantra Yoga, which kicked my butt, I might add. Still kicking my butt in a serious way. I run every day for at least an hour, and I do Kundalini Tantra Yoga, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes an hour, just depending how much time I have. So everything in my life is geared to being 100% healthy. I've been down. So I think when you get down and you get sick, it's just a wake-up call. And most people, you're at a crossroads. You got a choice. Do you want to die? Have you learnt your lessons? Can we move on? Right? So it becomes that. So many people buy into the doom and gloom of the prognosis of a doctor that gives, what a doctor gives them. And the reality is it's just a prognosis. But when you really look at it, it's like, honey, it's a wake-up call. The body hasn't figured out how to be intelligent enough to get rid of the cancer. So it's just created a little ball, a little tumor for you to be operated upon. However, you change your life. And my famed saying is, change your DNA, instantly change your life. But you got to work on those belief systems, right? So for me, I'm just like torpedo on my goals, and that means taking care of my health.
So who was it in this DNA Theta healing movement that got you involved with this? Who's the head person?
Oh, Vienna Steibel. Vienna Steibel is the creator of Theta healing. When I came back to the U.S., I came here originally to study acting. And I'll give you this really briefly. I came here to study acting, and I studied at the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. And so I was working here as an actor, but I was a person that got into acting for the craft and to break down the mind, because you're always working on people's minds. What's this character doing? What's going on here, and what's going on there, and what's the motivation? So then in 92, I went back to Australia to do a show, and one of my co-stars got me to go and see her healer. So I'm just going to fast forward it really fast. I come back to LA, and I'm looking for someone that does the same sort of work. And it took me a really long time to find it. And I found this chiropractor, and she said, Marina, you need to get into the healing arts. At the time, I was acting, I was writing, I was producing a little bit, and directing. And I go, you want me to get into the healing arts? I don't think so. And I looked into it, and it was like, oh my God. So I got the thing that always, as I said to you before, is the mind. And I found these other little healing modalities that dealt with the mind. Then I came across Theta healing, and that's exactly what I was looking for since 92, since I was introduced to this woman, Carolyn, in Australia. She did a form of Theta healing before Theta healing was even created. So once I found that and I studied that, that was it. Done. And then I just did every class. I've done the classes many, many times because you're always clearing stuff out. And then I did all the teaching classes and love it. And now I'm in partnership with Vienna Steibel, with the International Theta Healing Association and also the International Theta Healing Foundation. So,
so where is your school here in Los Angeles?
Main Street, Santa Monica.
What number?
2210 Main Street, Santa Monica, California, 90405.
Oh, good. So people
Yeah.
can contact you.
Yeah.
And you have classes most of the year?
All around, all year round. Yeah. And the basic is the most popular because it gets people in. And then it's up to them if they want to go in further. But we have a lot of students that go further and further and further. Yeah, and take all the classes and become certificates of science. One of my students just became a certificate of science last week. So that was really good. I was very proud of her. And it's beautiful to watch. It's so beautiful to watch someone come in so broken down and you just, I mean, beaten up by the world. And then they just come in and you just change their lives. You know, with each class they flourish. I had one student from England who couldn't do muscle testing. She couldn't drive. She was scared. Oh my God, by the third class she was driving, you know, full force. You know, they're just little things which don't mean a lot. But when you've got a phobia and a fear and you just drive to the gym and you don't take the freeways in LA, can you imagine how long it takes you to drive anywhere?
Yes.
Right, they're the little things. But then, you know, when you heal people and they're cancer-free and hepatitis C-free and herpes-free and any other disease that's out there, you know, that's another thing, you know, the celebration of it.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have classes all year round.
So many of the people who study end up becoming teachers because they're very comfortable with DNA theta healing and they want to stay within the organization.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot. We've got, I think Vianna said, I think we have 300,000 theta healers worldwide.
No kidding. I'm sorry, I did not know.
It's growing like a weed, out of control. Because, you know what, people don't want to go to a psychologist for 20 years. They don't. Now. Fix me now. Right?
And so you feel that the DNA theta healing actually can in some cases, quickly help a patient kind of regain equilibrium.
Absolutely. And heal. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, they have to believe in it and they have to really want it.
And so what's the core concept again?
It's working with people's belief systems. There's a history belief, genetic belief, soul belief, and genetic belief.
And so history belief is what your mom and dad taught you, what you know.
No, that's a core belief. Awesome. A core belief is what you've learned from the minute you were conceived to now. And history belief is more of past life stuff, and it keeps getting added in all the time. Genetic is in the RNA and the DNA, and it's what you've inherited from your mother and father, what you've inherited from the country you were born in, your relatives, cultures, nationalities, all of that. Mm-hmm. And that keeps being added in all the time as well. So we did core, we did history. Oh, and soul is it's a really deep belief. Yeah, so we work on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, could you mention one of the techniques so that, you know, I can get a sense of it?
Yeah. Do you want me to show you?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So, can we do some muscle testing?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have? Let me ask you this. Do you have something that you would like to work on?
Probably lots of stuff.
Well, give me
I don't
one.
Really know. I don't know. On camera, I don't know.
You have to give me one.
I don't know. You want to do health stuff? My health's pretty good. I don't know.
Whatever you want to do.
Let's do something health then.
You asked me for it, so now you've got to tell me what you want to do.
I'm just not so sure what to do. I don't know really. Go just do a general.
No. There's nothing general about it. It's very specific. What do you want to work on?
Well, let's work on emotion.
Okay, what?
Well, I don't know. Jealousy. I'm real big in jealousy.
You are? So you're a really jealous person?
Jealousy, yeah, is big for me, you know.
Okay.
Resentment, you know. Jealousy, resentment, I think, probably big for me.
Okay. So I'm going to do it this way just because it's being televised as well. Mm-hmm. So yes is you hold. Yeah. Okay, so yes. Good. And then no, you just release. Beautiful, just like that. Yeah, sure. And it's Joshua Lane, right?
Joshua Lane. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you get jealous about?
Oh, God, you name it.
Okay, like what? Give me an example. What's your big one?
Oh, this is kind of embarrassing.
Well, you embarrassed me. Yeah, I can embarrass you. So, Jesus.
So I see some of the people who
you asked me how to get hep C,
some people
so
who
there
become
we go.
Professional politicians.
Okay.
Who really, you know, lead the country or lead the state or something like that. And I think to myself,
I could do a better job.
I could do a better job. Why is this person
right.
completely doesn't even want to be?
Let's go. Okay. Yeah. So I, Joshua Lane, repeat after me. I, Joshua Lane. Yeah. I get jealous of the politicians that are out there running countries, states, Because I could do a better job. Say that.
I'm Joshua Lane, and I see.
I
believe that some politicians are running the country or the state, and I think I could do a much better job.
And I'm really envious of them.
And I'm envious of them. That's right.
Okay, hang on. So say yes again.
Yes.
Okay, so hold. Yes. And then no. Now make that statement again. You got to stay in your body. You already left.
Okay.
Okay, I, Joshua Lane.
I, Joshua Lane.
I am envious and jealous.
I am Joshua Lane, and I am envious and jealous of some politicians who run things, and I think
I could do a better job.
I could do a better job.
Oh yeah, you are. Okay, so we could track it. So let's see. This is very rudimentary, okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I, Joshua Lane.
I, Joshua Lane.
The belief that I have.
That
I'm jealous and envious. Of all the people that are out there that are politicians running the country, because I could do a better job.
Of all the people who are politicians running the country, because I believe I could do a better job.
Is held on a soul level.
Is held on a soul level.
So it's held on a genetic level.
It's held on a genetic level.
No. Okay, it's held on a history level.
It's held on a history level.
Ooh, baby. And it's held on a core level.
It's held on a core level.
You got it, baby. So you got 3. Okay, so let's
history
change.
Level? No?
Yeah,
no.
History, core, and genetic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just change it.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to just change it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to do it psychically and intuitively. Okay? Okay, I'm going to replace it with this. Now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to replace it with. So Joshua, can I give you creator, meaning God, creator's definition